Chapter 1257. My lord, you can't. You can't eat the sacrificial meat. The meat you are holding is the meat of the silkworm bush of the devil-revered realm. A single bite of it will damage our Tao for 10,000 years. The old man who claimed to be the earthly lord of Shiji Mountain kept trying to dissuade him. However, Ning Fan was too hungry. Facing the fragrance of the meat, his rationality was getting weaker and weaker. There seemed to be two voices arguing in the depths of his heart. His body's instincts were awakening. They kept urging him to eat the sacrificial meat as soon as possible and not listen to the nonsense of others. His remaining rationality was advising him to be careful and check the condition of the sacrificial meat first. The effect of the 10th revolution pill was too great, especially after Ning Fan had eaten a large amount of food. The hunger in his stomach had accumulated to a terrifying extent. The Taotai power in his body was getting lesser and lesser. What replaced it was the instinct of an ancient divine spirit that was slowly awakening and disturbing his thoughts. I am your instinct and your true desire. You should listen to me and eat the sacrificial meat. We ancient divine spirits dare to eat everything in the world. Why would we be afraid of the backlash from the sacrificial meat? 10,000 years of Tao damage? That depends on who I am dealing with. What can this sacrificial meat do to me? The divine spirit in his body said, I am your rationality. I am your principle, thinking and persistence in your path of cultivation. You don't want to be controlled by others since the beginning of your cultivation. You must think twice before you do anything. How can you be driven by your instinct and do something reckless? Since others said that there is something wrong with the meat, you should be careful even if you can't believe it. You should check it before eating it. The remaining rationality said, Instinct. Instinct is intuition. We ancient divine spirits are born with extraordinary intuition. In addition to our innate ability to communicate with all living things, we can tell right from wrong with just a glance. Since I said that the meat is harmless, then it is true. Rationality. Even if you can really see that the meat is harmless, you should still be careful and think twice. Instinct. I am a divine spirit and also a devil cultivator. If I am overcautious in everything, I don't want to cultivate this Tao. Rationality. If I follow my instinct and listen to my intuition, I will definitely die in the hands of thousands of people. How can I cultivate the Tao? Instinct. What's wrong with following my instinct? Rationality. What is instinct? Instinct. Instinct is the original heart, the true self. When babies are born, they know how to look for food and their mother. This is their instinct, their nature. However, once they grow up and step onto the path of cultivation, the people of the world will cut off their true self and nature. They will abstain from eating, cut off family ties, cut off the 6 desires, and abandon the mortal world. They will only seek peace and quiet, untainted by the world of mortals. How can they call this matter cultivation? Isn't it laughable? Rationality. What is the true self? Could it be that the newborn baby was the true self? The true self should be the most benevolent, but the newborn baby implies the evilness of human nature. Therefore, when one cultivates the Tao, one must cut off these natures. Instinct. You said that babies represent the evilness of human nature, but I think babies are the ultimate goodness. Cultivation has the suspicion of neglecting the essentials and pursuing trifles. Reason. Thou art looking at the problem too superficial. Instinct. Thou art looking at the problem too one-sidedly. Rationality. Humph. Summer insects cannot speak of ice. Instinct. Humph. A frog in a well cannot speak of the sea. Reason. That's too much, thou shalt not appreciate it. With such words, why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Instinct. Hee. How dare a slave who eats dog feces dare to speak? Reason. Eat your father's head, eat your mother's head. Instinct. You are a slave to your mother. You are a slave to your father. You are a slave to your clan. Reason. You have a disease in your head. If you don't treat it, you will be afraid of the future. Instinct. You are a slave to your mother. You are a slave to your father. You are a slave to your clan. Reason. At yen %, and instinct, *, and Yen hashtag at. Ning Fan was speechless. He felt as if he had split into two halves. However, the two of him first discussed the Tao and then quarreled with each other. In the end, neither of them could win the argument. In the end, they rolled up their sleeves and scolded each other. Are these also the side effects of the 10th revolution pill? Ning Fan would never admit that these retarded conversations came from his instincts and rationality. Fortunately, after being tormented by his instincts and rationality, Ning Fan finally calmed down. After calming down, he naturally did not eat the meat impatiently. Instead, he listened to the advice of the Earth Elder and temporarily stopped eating the meat. The sacrificial meat was not directly placed on the sacrificial table. Instead, it was placed in a small cauldron. There were many types of cauldrons. The cauldron in front of him was a rising cauldron that was made of copper. Rising cauldron was a type of cauldron. It was a ritual vessel that was specially used to hold meat. There were a total of 9 copper rising cauldrons in this place. Other than that, there were also 8 copper cauldrons and many ritual vessels such as chopping board, beans, guay, ju, and so on. The rising cauldron in front of him was less than 2 chi tall. It had 3 legs, 2 ears, and an open mouth. Its treasure light was dim and it no longer possessed much magic power. However, the sacrificial meat in the cauldron was still giving off steam as if it had just been cooked. There was no trace of aging on it at all. It was very strange. Ning Fan's eyes wandered between the copper cauldron and the copper cauldron. The more he looked, the more fascinated he became. His eyes seemed to be sucked into the cauldron and the cauldron. Then he realized that the cauldron was not a cauldron. It was clearly a towering mountain. Even though its power had been exhausted, it was still unshakable. He also realized that the cauldron was not a cauldron either. It was clearly a vast ocean with an unfathomable depth. These 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons are made by the immortal sovereign realm. The cauldron contains meat while the cauldron contains grains. Seeing that Ning Fan seemed to be interested in the layout of this place, the earthly elder patiently explained. 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons, 9 mountains and 8 seas. Ning Fan took a deep breath and withdrew his spirit sense from the cauldron and the cauldron. He only felt that the arrangement of the cauldron and the cauldron coincided with some kind of layout which was infinitely profound. It was difficult for him to see through the mysteries within. He could not help but feel regretful. There was nothing he could do about it. With his insignificant cultivation base, how could he see through the means of the immortal sovereign Ziwei? Then he looked at the sacrificial meat in the cauldron again. Previously, he was driven by his instincts and only focused on extracting the meat. Thus, he did not look at it carefully. Now that he calmed down, he could see that the sacrificial meat was taken from some kind of insect. Is it the revered devil silkworm bush? Ning Fan recalled the earthly elder's words and thought to himself, could these sacrificial meat be the meat of some kind of silkworm? Out of nowhere, Ning Fan recalled the memories he had when he was a mortal. When he was young, he once saw a silkworm rearing ant eating silkworms. However, that ant did not eat the silkworm meat directly. Instead, she waited for the silkworm to spin into a cocoon before killing the silkworm pupa in boiling water. After separating the cocoon, she fried the pupa and ate it. Ning Fan still remembered that he felt disgusted when he saw this for the first time. In the end, that ant laughed at him. You're such a good boy, but you're afraid of eating a silkworm. How embarrassing. Now, he finally dared to eat the silkworm meat without feeling disgusted at all. Perhaps, revered devil silkworm bush's true form was an undead divine silkworm. He was a remnant of the Shu Mountain clan and the first monarch of the ancient Shu country. However, because he offended venerated Ziwei, he died and his country was destroyed. His national treasures, the ancient Shu bronze mask, the absolute beginning human statue, the ancient bronze tree and the divine sun bird, were all taken by Ziwei. The earthly elder began to explain revered devil silkworm bush's life. When he talked about how revered Ziwei killed silkworm bush with a single palm strike and cooked him as a sacrificial meat, the earthly elder actually lamented endlessly. His expression was filled with regret. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not feel anything. He was neither a relative nor a friend of revered Ziwei. Besides, he was used to seeing the sea of blood in the cultivation world. Thus, he did not feel that revered Ziwei was cruel and pitiful. He wasn't involved and didn't know the cause and effect of this matter. Similarly, he wouldn't comment on it. What he was interested in was the silkworm meat itself. Immortal silkworm? It really is a kind of silkworm meat. No wonder I felt that the aroma of this meat was irresistible. Presumably, the immortal energy contained in this meat resonated with the immortal bloodline in my body. I have inherited a small portion of the bloodline power of the undying great emperor. If I eat this meat, it will certainly be beneficial to me. However, if someone else eats this meat, perhaps their Tao might really be damaged for 10,000 years. After all, not everyone dares to eat the flesh of undying beings. Ning Fan thought to himself, "My lord, there's something you don't know. This is the flesh and blood of an undying being, and it doesn't belong to the cycle of reincarnation. What we celestial cultivators seek is nothing more than the Tao of reincarnation. Therefore, eating this meat will only bring harm and no benefit," the earthly elder said. "Don't worry, this meat is harmless to me." Ning Fan did not explain further. Naturally, he would not tell his secrets to a stranger. He tried to take a piece of silkworm meat out of the cauldron, but he couldn't. He felt that this meat was unimaginably heavy and that only a saint could bear it. It was not the weight of the material plane but the weight of the Tao. This feeling of not being able to lift the sacrificial meat was like being unable to lift the Tao mountain of the Lord Ant. This is actually the flesh of a saint. Ning Fan was extremely shocked. As far as he knew, a trace of essence qi of a saint could crush mountains and rivers. If this is really the flesh of a saint, why didn't he sense the enormous essence qi of a third-step divine beast from it? However, if this is not the flesh of a saint, why did it give him an unshakable feeling of heaviness? It's true. Revered Devil Kensong was originally an incipient saint, but he died in the hands of venerated Ziwei. The flesh of a saint is filled with endless essence qi. Normally, it can't be eaten. However, venerated Ziwei forcefully removed the essence qi of Kensong's flesh and blood with her own Tao technique. You can say that this meat is the flesh of a saint, but you can also say that it's not. It's because the essence qi in the meat has already dissipated. It's like a withered plant that will shatter at the first touch. However, the undying power in the sacrificial meat is something that even venerated Ziwei can't remove. At the same time, the heaviness of the great Tao of this meat is also preserved. Those who aren't saints naturally won't be able to lift this meat, let alone eat it. Halfway through his explanation, the earthly geezer suddenly exclaimed in bewilderment. Those who aren't saints naturally won't be able to lift this meat. However, aren't you the dignified lord of the mountains and seas? As one of the 5 strongest beings in the mountain and sea division under the mountain and sea lord, you are at least a saint and a nirvana saint. Why can't you lift this meat? Could it be that you aren't a saint? Of course I'm not a saint. As you can see, I'm just an immortal king. Ning Fan answered. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can an immortal king become a lord of the mountains and seas? The earthly geezer denied. That's why I said that I'm not the lord of the mountains and seas that you mentioned. No. You don't have to hide it from me, Lord. The green bamboo staff that I'm holding has already revealed your identity. There's no doubt about that. The problem is that you're actually one of the 5 lords of the mountains and seas with your immortal king realm cultivation base. This is against the rules. Why would the mountain and sea lord bestow the power of the 4 seasons to an immortal king? Could it be that there are some secrets that no one knows about? The more the earthly geezer thought about it, the more his expression became solemn. He vaguely felt that there was a great deal of responsibility behind it, and he could not delve deeper into it. However, he still could not help but think about it. Could it be that the mountain and sea lord is playing a big game of chess on this person? Or maybe there's some other scheme behind it? Ning Fan shook his head. He vaguely felt that the earthly geezer's misunderstanding had deepened. However, he was too lazy to continue explaining. He was already used to chatting across servers. It did not matter to him anymore. First of all, I have to be able to lift this meat. Only then can I eat it. However, how am I supposed to lift this meat? Sure enough, it's better to have a chat with it. Thus, Ning Fan began to chat with the silkworm meat in the copper cauldron under the earthly geezer's gaze as if he was looking at a lunatic. Since there was not only one piece of silkworm meat in the 9 cauldrons but several tens of them, Ning Fan needed to chat with several tens of people, no, several tens of silkworm meat, at the same time. It was quite tiring. Fortunately, Ning Fan and the silkworm meat had quite an agreeable conversation. After all, when a silkworm grows up, it would turn into a moth. As for Ning Fan, even though they were of different species, they were extremely similar. Thus, they could naturally find some topics to talk about. In the inner world of the silkworm meat, there were males and females, young and old. Thus, during the conversation, Ning Fan would sometimes address them as Brother Silkworm and sometimes, he would address them as Mississippi. While chatting with the tens of silkworm meat, they talked about the pain of the silkworm and the butterfly breaking out of their cocoons to the possibility of the butterfly and the moth falling in love with each other. Then, they talked about the pain of having their country destroyed and their families destroyed to the helplessness of life. Finally, they talked about the meaning of life. Ning Fan was surprised to find out that all of the silkworm meat were distressed. The reason why they were distressed was because they could not fulfill the meaning of life despite being food. They had been stored here for countless years, but no one was willing to eat them and no one could eat them. Even though these silkworm meat were taken from the body of revered silkworm meat, they had developed individual consciousness that was different from their host. They did not consider themselves as silkworms but as food. Deep in their hearts, they hoped to be recognized and accepted as food by others. In the end, these silkworm meat actually begged Ning Fan to eat them. Is there such a good thing? Their food is asking to be eaten? Of course, Ning Fan would not reject the silkworm meat's request. However, for some reason, he thought of the God-exterminating shield of the ancient country and the request of the God-exterminating shield that day. It also hoped that Ning Fan could eat it. In the end, the God-exterminating shield that was eaten by Ning Fan seemed to have become a part of him, as if it had become part of his existence. To the ancient divine beings, what is the meaning of eating? Perhaps it was because Ning Fan had talked about the meaning of life with the silkworm meat. He actually began to think about the meaning of divine beings at this moment. However, how could he find the answer to something like meaning? Everything could have a meaning and everything could have no meaning. Even if he searched to the ends of the world, he would not be able to find the answer. Thus, he stopped letting his thoughts run wild. With the help of the silkworm meat, Ning Fan ate the silkworm meat. Strange. This Lord Supervisor is clearly not a saint, but he could actually eat the flesh of a saint. The earthly elder clicked his tongue in wonder, but he did not understand what was going on. Ning Fan, who ate the silkworm meat, did not lose any of his cultivation base. Similarly, it did not increase his cultivation base either. Even though the meat was the flesh of a saint, it was no different from an ordinary human's flesh because it had lost all of its essence chi. Only the undying bloodline in his body benefited from it. It absorbed the undying power that was almost of the same origin from the silkworm meat. However, it did not absorb much of it. After all, the silkworm meat had been stored for too many years. Most of the undying power in the meat had dissipated into heaven and earth. After eating all of the silkworm meat, Ning Fan bowed towards the empty 9 cauldrons. Thank you. Almost at the same time when Ning Fan finished eating the silkworm meat, the 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons began to vibrate and let out a cry. Ning Fan, who possessed the ability to communicate with all living beings in the world, could actually hear anger from the cry. They were angry because Ning Fan was not an immortal cultivator of the Z-Wei immortal realm, but he had stolen and eaten the immemorial sacrificial meat of this place. However, what could they do even if they were angry? They were just sacrificial tools that had exhausted their power. Besides, they were in an era where the Z-Wei immortal realm was going to be destroyed. They could not stop Ning Fan at all. In the end, there were no more silkworm meat in this place. Thus, there was no longer any meaning for the 9 cauldrons and 8 cauldrons to be kept here. The sacrificial tools seemed to have lost all meaning of life. Not long after the sacrificial meat was eaten, the sacrificial tools in this place wailed at the same time. In the end, all of them turned into copper dust and disappeared. After the sacrificial meat was removed, the body of the earthly old man also changed. The earthly old man revealed a satisfied expression. Then, his body gradually turned transparent and disappeared. Only at this moment did Ning Fan notice that the earthly old man was actually not a living person. Instead, he was someone who had been dead for countless years. I remember now. That's right. I've been dead for a long time. However, because there was something in my heart that I couldn't get rid of, my remnant soul stayed here and couldn't return to the mountains and seas. In the past, immortal Emperor Zi Wei violated the rules and used the ruler of a country as a sacrifice to heaven and earth. I was dissatisfied and reported this matter to the Mountain and Sea Division, but I didn't receive any reply. The Mountain and Sea Lord didn't plan to punish immortal Emperor Zi Wei for such a trivial matter. Everyone blamed me for making a big fuss over a minor issue. After that, immortal Emperor Zi Wei heard about this matter from somewhere and found out that I had the audacity to sue a dignified immortal emperor. Thus, he sentenced me to death. However, after I died, I didn't turn into ashes. Instead, my remnant soul stayed here to wait for the result of this matter. As the earthly old man of Shiji Mountain, my duty is none other than to protect this mountain from chaos and ensure that the rules of etiquette don't collapse. As long as the violation of the rules of this mountain isn't removed, I won't be free even if I die. Fortunately, I've been waiting for this day. As expected, the Mountain and Sea Lord didn't forget about my grudge. Even though it has been many years, he still sent a division master here to remove the violation of the rules of this place. In this case, my mission can finally be completed. The earthly old man's face became more and more satisfied. Ning Fan, on the other hand, felt a hint of surprise. This person's remnant soul was really very strong. Even though it was just a remnant soul, it was still like a living person. Even Ning Fan could not see through the fact that this person was already dead. What kind of deep obsession does one need to have to be able to live even though he is dead? Ning Fan felt that this earthly old man was very foolish. This person was just an immortal king, but he actually dared to go and lodge a complaint against a fourth-step immortal emperor. In the end, he lost his life because of that. When Ning Fan first heard the reason for the complaint, it was even more hilarious. He actually wanted to sue immortal Emperor Zi Wei for violating the rules of etiquette. However, was it really funny? Ning Fan found it hard to laugh. He was a devil cultivator. Naturally, he was not a person who abided by etiquette. The rules of heaven and earth were meaningless to him. However, to the earthly old man, perhaps the rules of Shiji Mountain were the only meaning of his existence. Perhaps, this person knew that there would be no result if he lodged a complaint against the immortal emperor. However, he still did it just to fulfill his duty. It could be said that he was stubborn, courageous, inflexible, or dutiful. However, no matter what others said, this earthly old man would probably not change his decision, nor would he regret his decision. Lord, you always say that you're not the division master of the Mountain and Sea Lord. However, I know that you are. You must be. My obsession has disappeared. This soul of mine won't be able to exist for long. I'm about to return to the Mountain and Sea Lord. Before I leave, I have something to ask you. I hope that you can tell me the truth. The earthly old man's face was filled with sincerity. It was as if the last question he wanted to ask was very, very important to him. I'm not. Ning Fan wanted to say that he was not the division master of the Mountain and Sea Lord, as he could not answer the old man's question. However, when he saw the earnest eyes of the earthly old man, he finally swallowed the words back into his throat. What do you want to ask? I want to ask how many bamboo flowers have bloomed in the bamboo forest of the Sichun Mountain this year. The earthly old man's face was filled with longing. He wished that he could fly back to the division master of the mountain and see himself before he died. He wanted to fly back to the Sichun Mountain and take a look at the bamboo forest that covered the entire mountain. He wanted to look at the bamboo flowers and his hometown that he had not returned to for many years. However, he could not do it. The only thing he could do was to ask Ning Fan a few questions to relieve the pain of homesickness. Ning Fan wanted to say that he did not know. However, when the words came to his mouth, it turned into, I didn't count. If you didn't count, It means that a lot of bamboo flowers have bloomed. Therefore, even with the Division Master Spirit sense, you won't be able to see all of them. This is great. The bamboo flowers in my hometown are blooming very well. I really want to go home and have a look. The remnant soul of the earthly old man dissipated completely. At the moment when his soul dissipated, his smile was frozen forever. That smile was very dazzling. It pierced Ning Fan's eyes and went all the way to his heart. It made Ning Fan feel a little lost. He actually felt a little homesick. I wonder if the snow in 7 Apricot City is heavy this year. I really want to ask someone. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. During these few days, major events happened frequently in the Z-Way North Palace, causing the demons and devils in the palace to discuss about it. Have you heard about it? In the 6th palace, the True Shen Palace, the Great Spirit Spring Pond that is said to have an endless amount of water has been drunk by someone, causing the water level to plummet. Of course I have heard about it. It is said that the person who drank the spring water is an old senior named Ning Fan. The Great Spirit Spring Pond will have a flood every 10 years and countless demons and devils will drown. Now that the water level has plummeted, there won't be a flood for the next tens of thousands of years. We are really lucky. I heard that the demons and devils of the True Shen Palace are grateful for Senior Ning's kindness. They want to build an incense tower for Senior Ning. Have you heard about it? In the 5th palace, the Great Liang Palace, those evil wine devils were killed by someone. How is that killing them? I heard that those wine devils were eaten alive by someone. Those wine devils are the products of the wine devils after they transform. When they join forces, they can even fight a quasi-saint realm expert, who is so powerful to kill them. I heard that it is a senior named Ning Fan. Ah? Senior Ning is doing a good deed again. I heard that some of the wine devils of the Great Liang Palace had attacked Senior Ning. However, Senior Ning did not hold it against them and repaid them with kindness. That's not right. That's not right. Repaying kindness with kindness? How can one repay kindness? Senior Ning is too kind to these wine devils. You are not allowed to speak ill of Senior Ning. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. I was just saying it casually. How would I dare to talk bad about Senior Ning? That have you heard about it? The immemorial seal of the 4th palace, Falling Tower Palace, has been repaired by Senior Ning. Ah? Senior Ning really does good deeds every day. The book devils of the Falling Tower Palace said that they want to repair the incense flame tower for Senior Ning. I heard that when Senior Ning repaired the seal, all the book devils flew out and tried to stop him. In the end, they were all killed by Senior Ning. What are book devils? They are book devils. Those book devils are really powerful. They can transform into Golden House, Thousand Bell Millet and Yen Ryu. Do you know how Senior Ning defeated those book devils? Senior Ning is really smart. When those book devils transformed into Thousand Bell Millet, he ate all the millet in the courtyard one bite at a time. Those book devils were so scared that they tried to run away, but how could they escape? Senior Ning is really a kind person. We can't be compared to him. Have you heard about it? Something big happened in the 3rd palace, Luozi Palace. Yes, I heard about it. Senior Ning has done another good deed. That Meat Mountain Giant has finally been eliminated. It's really satisfying. All these years, countless demons and devils have died in the mouth of the Meat Mountain Giant. Finally, it's the Meat Mountain Giant's turn to be eaten. It's all thanks to Senior Ning. Senior Ning is really a good person. He's as kind as Lord Duo when in the past. I heard that after Senior Ning left the Luozi Palace, he went to the Xianing Palace. Now, he's in seclusion there. What? Why would Senior go into seclusion all of a sudden? Could it be that you were severely injured when you were going around to eliminate evil and you need to recuperate? I hope Senior is safe and sound. In the 2nd palace of the Z-Way North Palace, the Xianing Palace. The Xianing Palace was the territory of old ancestor Nu Luo. Currently, Ning Fan was in seclusion inside the palace. The place where he went into seclusion was a cave dwelling that looked like a tree hole. It was built inside a towering ancient tree. He was not in seclusion to recuperate as others had guessed. Instead, he was in seclusion to refine the enormous energy in his body. Ning Fan sat in meditation with his legs crossed like an old monk. His body gave off rays of golden light, making him look like a golden heavenly god. As time passed, the rays of golden light gradually increased. Beside him, Shenwan was carefully guarding him. Actually, Ning Fan did not need Shenwan's protection. However, Shenwan had just acknowledged him as his master and was eager to make a contribution. Thus, he took the initiative to make such a request. Amazing! Really amazing! Master's divine power is still increasing. I can't be wrong about this feeling. Master is awakening a second type of divine technique. Under normal circumstances, divine spirits would only have a rare chance to awaken a second type of divine technique when they are advancing to the next level. Could it be that Master is advancing to the next level? Shenwan's face was filled with anticipation even though she did not have a face at all. Master is the father god of wood. His divine spirit level must have already reached the primogenitor level. If he continues to advance, won't he break through to the divine king level? But why did I hear that in order to advance to the divine king level, one would need the blessings of 24 primogenitor divine spirits at the same time? Or could it be that Master didn't cultivate the divine spark of an ancestor divine spirit as a primogenitor divine spirit? He actually cultivated the divine spark of an ancestor divine spirit as an innate divine spirit? Is he also advancing to the primogenitor divine spirit as an innate divine spirit? Shenwan's imagination ran wild. She was right about one thing. Currently, Ning Fan was indeed advancing to the divine spirit level. However, he was not advancing to the primogenitor divine spirit from an innate divine spirit. Instead, he was advancing from a crippled divine spirit to a postnatal divine spirit. There were 3 levels of divine spirit: crippled divine spirit, postnatal divine spirit, and innate divine spirit. After that, postnatal divine spirit was divided into 4 levels: nascent divine spirit, young divine spirit, middle divine spirit, and old divine spirit. Innate divine spirit was divided into 3 levels: innate divine spirit, primogenitor divine spirit, and divine king divine spirit. Ning Fan's divine spirit level had never truly broken through to the postnatal level. In the past, he was just getting closer and closer to the postnatal divine spirit level. However, it was still not enough for him to truly break through to the next level. He could not find the reason. He thought that it was because he did not inherit the cultivation method of the divine spirit race, which was why he could not break through to the next level. However, he had never thought that the reason why he could not break through to the postnatal divine spirit level was because of himself. He was a cultivator. Naturally, he chose to abstain from eating at the beginning of his cultivation. Abstaining from eating required him to cut off his appetite. In essence, it was incompatible with the Tao of divine spirits. 2 different Taos should not coexist in the same person. Fortunately, Ning Fan cultivated the yin-yang transformation, which allowed him to coexist with 2 different Taos. However, he still needed to find a suitable point to break through to the next level of his divine spirit level. Coincidentally, Ning Fan ate a 10th revolution pill that could increase his appetite and digestion. He became very hungry. He had awakened his appetite that had been sealed for a long time. At the same time, the divine spirit instinct deep in his bloodline was also awakened. Originally, when Ning Fan ate that 10th revolution pill, he wanted to absorb the 99 traces of Tao Tai's power within it to evolve his stomach into the Tao Tai's stomach. However, how domineering was the divine spirit instinct? It did not give Ning Fan the chance to form the Tao Tai's stomach. It devoured all the Tao Tai's power in Ning Fan's body bit by bit. Why do I need the Tao Tai's stomach? You are an ancient divine spirit. All you need is the divine spirit stomach. As a result, Ning Fan's divine spirit ascension had begun by accident. However, he did not realize it at all. It was because Ning Fan was too hungry. He was so hungry that he could not think straight. Naturally, he did not think that the reason why he became hungrier the more he ate was because he had triggered the opportunity for the divine spirit level to advance. Just like that, he did not make a sound and continued to eat crazily to replenish the energy he needed for his divine spirit level to advance. The more he ate, the hungrier he became. It was because the closer his divine spirit level was to the postnatal divine spirit level, the greater the amount of energy he needed. Fortunately, Ning Fan managed to gather enough food in the end. It was also at the moment when he was full that he regained his senses and realized the huge changes in his body. The ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient devils that I cultivate are all imitations of the ancient divine spirits. The postnatal divine spirits correspond to the extreme of the ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient devils. The ancient god bloodline is the most similar to the ancient gods. Legend has it that when the ancient gods cultivate to the peak, they can cultivate 7 heart orifices. Ning Fan could feel that his ancient god realm cultivation base was disappearing bit by bit. What replaced it was his divine spirit realm cultivation base that was constantly rising. This was conversion. The ancient god's magic power was transforming into God Spirit's magic power. The amount did not change, but the purity of the magic power had a qualitative leap. At the same time, the number of Ning Fan's heart acupoints was also slowly increasing. Dong dong, dong dong, dong dong. Ning Fan could clearly hear his heartbeat getting louder and louder. Dong dong, dong dong, dong dong. Ning Fan was not the only one who could hear the heartbeat, it resonated with the entire cave. Shen Wan could hear Ning Fan's heartbeat that was getting stronger and stronger. Then she found it inconceivable. It must be fake. Master's heart acupoints actually didn't reach 7. Only now did he start to get closer to the 7 apertures. Logically speaking, any postnatal divine spirit that cultivates normally should have the 7 apertures divine heart. There is only one explanation for Master not having the 7 apertures divine heart. Master is actually a divine spirit with a trash body and is advancing to the true postnatal divine spirit realm. A postnatal divine spirit realm infant that is about to possess 2 types of divine techniques. Chapter 1258. In the second palace of the Ziwei North Palace, Xianpin Palace. Inside the Xianpin Palace, plants were flourishing. Countless towering ancient trees grew in this place. There were also immemorial winged dragons flying between the ancient trees. From afar, this place was just like an immemorial forest. The taller ancient trees in this place had been hollowed out and built into cave dwellings that looked like tree holes. Countless demons and devils that were formed from plants and trees had been living in the tree holes for countless years. The place where Ning Fan went into seclusion was the tallest tree among the ancient trees. It was an old parasol tree that was 3 billion years old. Its trunk was even thicker than a heavenly pillar. Any one of its leaves was enough to cover an entire city in the mortal world. There was a gigantic human face on the tree trunk. Obviously, this tree had already cultivated into a demon. It was the face of a kind old man. His beard was white and each of his beard was hundreds of li long. Currently, it was sleeping soundly. Its snores were deafening and terrifying like thunder. As it breathed, the branches and leaves of the entire parasol tree shook and rustled continuously. This tree demon had a bone age of 3 billion years. However, its cultivation base was not high enough to reach the heavens and earth. Its chi was actually only equivalent to the life immortal realm. It was very strange. Under normal circumstances, no life immortal realm cultivators could live for such a long time. However, this parasol tree had obtained a great fortune when it was young. The demons and devils of the Xianpin Palace had passed down from generation to generation that this parasol tree was once stained with the blood of the Phoenix clan saint. That was why it could live forever. The proof was that there were still some dark golden blood stains on the tree trunk. Even though the powerful chi in the blood stains had been eroded by time, it still carried the aura force of a saint that could not be looked at directly. To the Parasol clan, the blood of the Phoenix saint was a supreme treasure. It could help them avoid heavenly tribulations and naturally allow them to live forever. Old ancestor Nu Luo stood under the tree and looked at the sleeping parasol tree demon. Her expression darkened imperceptibly. Grandpa tree is getting older and more sleepy now. If someone is in seclusion in his tree hole in the past, he would never leave the guest alone. But now, is there really nothing we can do? Sigh, damn it. If it wasn't for the sake of fighting against the Devil Lord on the Devil Conferral Peak and protecting us juniors, why would Master Tree release such a large amount of life force at once to face the enemy? Fortunately, I met a Lord God of Berserkers. With his mountain and sea curse, he might be able to find enough life force to save me. Thinking of this, Matriarch Nirua's eyes were filled with anticipation. As it turned out, the reason why he took the initiative to approach Ningfan was to save the old parasol tree in front of him. I wonder how Lord Barbarian God is doing right now. Milord has eaten so much food, you naturally need time to refine and absorb it. If it were any other quasi-sage, they would definitely not be able to refine so much food without 1,000 years of hard work. However, this lord is extremely talented. Perhaps he would only need 100 years to come out of seclusion. I hope that you will listen to my request after you come out of seclusion. Ancestor Nile Luo was wrong. Even though Ningfan had eaten a lot of food along the way, it was far from enough for him to refine and absorb them for 100 years. After just 4 days of seclusion, he had already absorbed 70% of the energy in his body. Another 2 days passed. The enormous amount of energy in his body was completely absorbed by Ningfan. The energy did not directly turn into his cultivation base. Instead, it was like a clay ox entering the sea, entering Ningfan's divine spirit body. During the past few days, Ningfan's body was undergoing drastic changes every second. The number of his ancient divine heart orifices had increased to 7. At the moment when he broke through to the 7 apertures ancient god realm, the shadow of an ancient god appeared between heaven and earth of Xianpin Palace. His appearance was solemn and dignified. It shocked countless demons and devils who thought that there was an enemy attack. In the end, they found out that it was a false alarm. The number of Ningfan's ancient demon spirit wheels had also increased to 3. The limit of the ancient demon spirit wheels was 5. That was why it was called the 5 spirit wheels. Ningfan did not follow the orthodox cultivation method of his spirit wheels. All he did was eat a lot of food. In the end, the number of his spirit wheels increased too. It really surprised him. On second thought, ancient demons cultivated by imitating the ancient divine spirits. Even though he did not follow the ancient demon cultivation method, he ate according to the instinct of the divine spirits. It could be considered as following the cultivation method of the divine spirits. Thus, it seemed reasonable for him to improve his ancient demon abilities. When his spirit wheels achieved a breakthrough, another shadow of an ancient demon appeared between heaven and earth of Xianpin Palace. It shocked many demons and devils again. After that, another shadow of an ancient devil appeared between heaven and earth. After that, another shadow of the barbarian god battling heaven appeared. Another shadow of the Tai Tsong tribulation spirit appeared. There were even giant shadows of divine spirits and devil spirits that appeared one after another. They looked down upon heaven and earth with disdain. Their world-shaking aura force was enough to make saints panic. Even a quasi-saint like old ancestor Nu Luo did not even have the right to raise her head to look at the 2 shadows. She was so shocked that she could not speak for a long time. The strange phenomenon between heaven and earth kept changing. Sometimes the devil turned into the dark night. Sometimes the Tao turned into the Big Dipper. Sometimes yin and yang merged into one. Sometimes everything returned to peace. Sometimes lightning diagrams appeared and rumbled in the sky. Sometimes there was a rainstorm that fell to the ground. Sometimes the shadow of a phoenix hung high in the sky. Sometimes butterflies filled the sky. Sometimes poisonous miasma filled the sky. Sometimes it was as dark as night. Sometimes the sound of war drums shook the sky. Sometimes killing intent filled the world. Sometimes the shadow of a sword pierced through the sky. Sometimes the shadow of Fu Li flew across the sky with a divine spirit tree branch in its mouth. Wherever it passed by, plants began to grow. Sometimes a purple golden wind blew across the land, turning the mountain rocks into sand and dust. On the 9th day of Ningfan's seclusion, the strange phenomena that filled the sky began to decrease. Every time a strange phenomenon disappeared, some ancient stars would appear in the sky. The colors of those stars were different. Looking from afar, they looked like the stars in the eyebrows and eyes of the ancient gods, demons and devils that illuminated the sky. There was an indescribable Tao Qi surrounding them. Some demons and devils with good eyesight saw through the origin of those stars and were extremely shocked. These are actually Tao Qi stars. Aren't only corpse-severing cultivators able to cultivate Tao Qi stars? Could it be that Senior Ning is actually in seclusion to perform corpse severing? No, it doesn't seem like it. If he's really performing corpse severing, the number of Tao Qi stars that would appear would be much more. However, there are only dozens of Tao Qi stars here. No one knew why the Tao Qi stars in heaven and earth had appeared. Even Ning Fan was puzzled. He did not know what was going on. Of course, he did not perform corpse severing. He had just completed a divine spirit meal. However, a monstrous transformation had taken place inside his body. The three cultivation bases of the ancient gods, ancient demons and ancient devils flowed into his divine spirit cultivation base like rivers flowing into the ocean. The Jieling cultivation base was a little stubborn. He refused to merge with the divine spirit cultivation base and kept his unique cultivation base. At this moment, Ning Fan's spiritual world seemed to have turned into a vast starry sky. In this starry sky, many Tao Qi stars were born one after another. Strange. You didn't perform corpse severing. Why did you cultivate dozens of Tao Qi stars out of nowhere? In his spiritual world, the Ant Lord's surprised voice resounded. Even with her experience as a quasi-saint realm expert, she still could not understand what was happening in front of her. Corpse severing? Tao Qi stars? Ning Fan was a little puzzled. Just as he was about to ask about it, he suddenly felt a strong force pushing him out of his spiritual world. His spiritual world seemed to be a little unstable. Was it because he had just condensed the Tao Qi stars? Ning Fan suppressed his doubts and slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were surrounded by starlight. They were so bright that no one could look at them directly. It was indescribable. It was as if his eyes contained the entire starry sky. In that starry sky, there were a total of 43 Tao Qi stars. Ning Fan took out a bronze mirror from his storage pouch. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, his expression changed. I seem to have seen this kind of eyes before. I've seen this kind of eyes on the ancient statue of the undying great emperor. I've also seen this kind of eyes in the eyes of Master Luangu. Eyes like the starry sky. What exactly is going on? Before Ning Fan could think about it carefully, a warm feeling suddenly spread from his stomach. Then, it spread to all his internal organs and spread to his muscles, bones, flesh and blood. Eventually, it spread to every part of his body. That kind of warm feeling suddenly became intense. It became scorching hot like fire, like boiling water, like hot oil, like lava and like the sun that fell from the west. Ning Fan's body was bathed in the scorching divine spirit light. Inside his body, the second type of divine spirit innate talent was slowly taking shape. A few days later, Ning Fan officially came out from his seclusion. On the surface, Ning Fan did not seem to have changed much during his seclusion. Judging from his qi, Ning Fan's cultivation base did not seem to have improved much. It was difficult for others to notice the changes in Ning Fan's body. Only Shun, one who was sensitive to divine power, could sense that the essence of his master's magic power had changed. Most of his magic power had been converted into the divine power of ancient divine spirits. The cultivation bases of ancient gods, ancient demons and ancient devils had all been assimilated by the divine power. However, this kind of assimilation could only be noticed by those who were also from the divine spirit race. How could ordinary people recognize the divine power of a divine spirit? They would only think that Ning Fan was still cultivating the magic power of the ancient gods, demons and devils at the same time. They could not see through his true nature. As a servant of the divine spirit race, Shenwan could naturally see through this. When he saw that Ning Fan's divine power had increased tremendously, he knew that his master had succeeded in his seclusion and had truly stepped into the threshold of the postnatal divine spirit realm. Congratulations on breaking through to the nascent God realm, Master. Shenwan said with a flattering tone. The 4 stages of the postnatal divine spirit realm were nascent God realm, young God realm, middle God realm, and old God realm. Ning Fan had already obtained this information from Shenwan. He was quite satisfied with the fact that he could enter the nascent God realm and become a real postnatal divine spirit. Even though his cultivation base did not improve much, the increase in the strength of his physical body was quite terrifying. Compared to when he had yet to break through to the postnatal divine spirit realm, the strength of his physical body had increased by 3 times. His blood and qi had also increased by 3 times. The digestive ability of his stomach had increased by more than 10,000 times. However, his strength did not increase much. That's because you are still too young. You're still a baby. Naturally, it's not the time for you to grow your strength. When you become a young divine spirit, your strength will increase tremendously and you will reach the peak of the postnatal divine spirit realm. Shenwan explained. I am a baby? Ning Fan was speechless. Of course, it's according to the standard of the divine spirit race. All right. Speaking of Ning Fan's digestive ability, the improvement of his digestive ability was not only reflected in the speed of digestion but also the types of food he ate. You have seen cultivators eating spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs, but have you seen cultivators eating refined iron and mithril? Have you seen someone eating mountains, oceans, and cultivation planets? After breaking through to the nascent God realm, Ning Fan was no longer limited by the types of food he ate. Everything in the world could be used as food and he could digest them. If his body needs it, he could even eat cultivation planets easily. Master, may I ask if you have comprehended a second divine technique after breaking through to the nascent God realm? Shenwan asked hopefully. After becoming a real postnatal divine spirit, one would have the chance to obtain benefits and comprehend a second divine technique. Of course, the possibility of that happening was very low. However, Shenwan was good at observing people's expressions. When he saw his master's beaming face, he knew that he must have really gained something. However, he did not know what kind of divine technique his master had comprehended this time. The divine spirit race was known to have 9 great divine techniques. However, in reality, there were far more than 9 types of divine techniques. It was just that the 9 techniques were the most famous and had the highest grade. That was why they were called the 9 techniques. In fact, there were still many divine techniques that were not ranked. Occasionally, there would be people who comprehended divine techniques that had never been seen in history. All of them were highly possible. Take a guess. Ning Fan was in a good mood and teased Shenwan. It must be so. Shenwan said with certainty. Hee. Ning Fan did not express his opinion. However, since he was smiling, how could Shenwan not know that he had guessed correctly? Master, did you comprehend the 3 upper divine techniques? Shenwan first asked for the names of the first 3 divine techniques. Ning Fan shook his head. Could it be the middle 3 techniques? Shenwan then named the middle 3 techniques one by one. Ning Fan still shook his head. It's the lower 3 techniques? Shenwan said the names of the lower 3 techniques again. Ning Fan still shook his head. He still could not match them. This time, Shenwan was a little surprised. One should know that the first divine technique Ning Fan comprehended was the communication of all living things. It did not make sense for the second divine technique to be an inferior one. The true name of the divine technique I comprehended this time is, All Living Things Acknowledge Me. Ning Fan no longer kept Shenwan in suspense. He also wanted to see if Shenwan had heard of this technique before. In the end, it was Shenwan's turn to shake her head. She had never heard of such a technique appearing in the history of the divine spirits. Maybe it was because she was ill-informed, or maybe it was the first time this technique had appeared. Master, don't be discouraged. Even if some divine techniques are not ranked, it doesn't mean that they are not strong. Every divine technique has its own strong points. The key lies in how you use them. Shenwan comforted Ning Fan as he was worried that he would be unhappy. Ning Fan nodded. He had not tested the power of this new technique. Naturally, he would not reject it easily. Let's see what's so special about this technique. Since this technique is called "all living things acknowledge me," it must be related to master recognition. Since it dares to say "all living things acknowledge me," it must be really powerful. Ning Fan took out a few low-grade magical treasures from his storage pouch. All of them were seized from his enemies. These magical treasures were useless to him. Thus, he would not spend time refining them and making them acknowledge him as their master. However, it was a good time for him to use them now. Ning Fan held the magical treasures in one hand and formed a hand seal with the other. Golden divine light gathered and turned into seals that were imprinted into the magical treasures by Ning Fan. It was the master recognition seal that allowed all living things to acknowledge him as their master. The pattern of the seal was that of an ancient giant holding the sky with one hand and forming a hand seal with the other. Almost at the same time when the master recognition seal was planted, Ning Fan could clearly feel that he had established a connection with these magical treasures. This feeling was the feeling of successfully recognizing him as their master. It's done. However, isn't this speed a little too fast? It's even faster than dripping my blood to recognize them as my master. Moreover, it saves me the consumption of blood essence. It's countless times faster than refining my magic power. Ning Fan tried some other high-grade magical treasures. Without any exception, all of them successfully recognized him as their master. After consuming 21 seals, the low-grade innate dragon boat cauldron successfully recognized him as its master. After consuming 33 seals, the low-grade innate dragon burial stone successfully recognized him as its master. After consuming 46 seals, the low-grade innate devil saber successfully recognized him as its master. 4 magical treasures below the innate realm, a single seal was enough to recognize them as their master. However, higher-grade magical treasures would require more seals. Ning Fan suddenly had a new discovery. The power of the magical treasures that were recognized by the master recognition seal seemed to have a slight increase. Most of them had an increase of 5 to 10%. In other words, the power of the magical treasures can be increased by a small amount after the master recognition seal recognizes them as their master. Even though the increase isn't much, it's still useful. Ning Fan's expression turned serious. His eyes shone with a heavenly green light as he observed the master recognition seal that was planted inside the magical treasures. His expression gradually turned serious, and in the end, there was a look of surprise on his face. Logically speaking, a master recognition seal only required a few finger gestures, so the structure of the Dao technique should not be too complicated. However, the truth was that the inner workings of these master recognition seals were unimaginably complex. Even with Ning Fan's heavenly being law eyes, he actually could not see through the principle of this seal. It was too profound and incomprehensible. This technique is indeed not as simple as I thought. He decided to test the strength of the master recognition seal. He tried to forcefully erase the master recognition seals within the treasures, but he found that once these seals were placed, he couldn't forcefully erase them. The only way to get rid of this seal was to use the divine art of all things recognition in reverse. These magic seals are actually the structure of the indestructible seal. Ning Fan was astonished. The so-called immortal seal was one of the most profound seals. Once a seal of this level was planted, even a nirvana sage would have a hard time erasing it. Because the level was too high, it was extremely inconvenient to use the indestructible seal. It was extremely possible to form the 1,000-finger seal, and the FA needed to form the indestructible seal was an astronomical figure. However, Ning Fan's master recognition seal seemed to be both fast and low energy consumption. It did not consume much of his magic power at all. Since this item is said to be the master of all things, the range of its technique is not limited to magic treasures. Let's try something else. Ning Fan took out a pill and planted the master recognition seal on it. As a result, he found out that the pill that was planted with the master recognition seal could not be consumed by others. Similarly, the medicinal power of the pill increased slightly. Even the pill works? Let's try something else. After consuming 1,500 master recognition seals, Ning Fan's sea of consciousness successfully recognized him as the master. After consuming 2,200 master recognition seals, Ning Fan's physical body successfully recognized him as the master. After consuming 1,900 master recognition seals, Ning Fan's primordial spirit successfully recognized him as the master. Interesting. This technique can actually be used on myself. Indeed, I am also included in all things. Ning Fan found it funny. Shen Wan, who was standing at the side, was speechless. Who in the world would recognize themselves as their master? What's the use of it? Of course, it's useful. My entire life is formed from the essence and blood of my father and mother. Therefore, the owner of this body is my parents. However, in the end, the owner of all things in the world is heaven and earth, samsara, and an inescapable fate. I don't belong to my parents either. Instead, I belong to the Creator. However, at this moment, I have already recognized myself as my master. From now on, I am detached from heaven and earth and I only belong to myself. Ning Fan teased. Even though he said it in a serious manner, what he said was actually not his true thoughts. However, just as his voice fell, Ning Fan's expression suddenly turned solemn. He felt the changes in his body. It was originally a joke to recognize himself as his master. However, after doing so, Ning Fan shockingly discovered that his magic power had actually increased by more than 5%. His magic power had increased by a total of 950 tribulations. His magic power had instantly surpassed 18,000 tribulations. What was more frightening was that Ning Fan felt a sense of relief. It was a kind of transcendence. It was as if what he said in a joke was really true. At this moment, he no longer belonged to the Creator of heaven and earth. Instead, he belonged to himself. My joke seems to have come true. Not only that, but this technique also seems to be able to affect the will of the person who has been sealed. However, because I am using it on myself, my own will not be affected. If I use it on other living beings, Ning Fan's expression was as solemn as still water. This divine technique seems to be quite powerful. Shen Wan swallowed her saliva even though she did not open her mouth at all. Ning Fan remained silent and his eyes scanned his surroundings. He saw a small lake in the forest not far away. A silver-winged mayfly was flying above the lake. This kind of silver-winged mayfly was an extremely common species in the cultivation world. It was born in the morning and died in the evening. It was already evening now and this mayfly was about to die. It was resting on a piece of duckweed, waiting for its death. Brother Mayfly, your lifespan is about to end. I want to ask you to help me with a small experiment. Can you do it? Ning Fan approached it, squatted down and asked politely. Sure. The mayfly agreed to Ning Fan's request. This mayfly seemed to be very easygoing. It was obviously about to die, but it was willing to help a stranger before it died. Shen Wan was a little confused. She knew that Ning Fan could communicate with all living beings. However, she did not understand why a dignified divine being like him would lower his status and make a request to a tiny living being. Do divine beings need to ask for help or request for help? If a divine being wants to do something, he can just take it by force. My master is really soft-hearted. No. My master is being merciful. Thank you. Ning Fan squatted down. He formed a hand seal and planted a master recognition seal on the mayfly. With just one master recognition seal, the mayfly successfully acknowledged Ning Fan as its master. What was more frightening was that Ning Fan could feel the emotions of the mayfly change almost at the same time he planted the master recognition seal. He and the mayfly were strangers who met each other by chance. Naturally, there was no friendship between them. However, after planting the master recognition seal on it, he could clearly feel that the mayfly had developed a heart of loyalty to him that was willing to die for him. This seal can not only recognize a living being as its master but also change its heart and will, forcing it to be loyal to the user. Ning Fan's expression became more solemn. Changing the will of a living being is too heaven-defying. Undo. Ning Fan undid the master recognition seal in the mayfly's body. In an instant, the mayfly broke away from the master-servant relationship with Ning Fan. The loyalty it had towards Ning Fan also vanished at the same time. Ning Fan flicked his finger and a trace of vitality force shot into the mayfly's body. The mayfly, which was on the verge of death, was instantly reborn. It flapped its wings and flew 3 rounds around Ning Fan before flying away. Only Ning Fan could hear the mayfly's gratitude. Ning Fan just smiled and replied, "Go ahead. This is to thank you." Inwardly, he had some new ideas about the master recognition technique. After that, Ning Fan decided to summon the undying ghost soldier. Due to the divine pill's assistance, Ning Fan only had 1 ghost soldier left. However, this ghost soldier had a terrifying cultivation base that was comparable to an ancient great cultivator. The undying divine feat. The only unfortunate thing was that the undying divine feat was a little unruly. It turned a deaf ear to Ning Fan's command and wanted to fight him instead. "Humph! Did you summon me here because you want to compete with me?" As soon as it appeared, the undying divine feat revealed its killing intent and locked onto Ning Fan. Since the opponent was so unruly, Ning Fan certainly would not be polite. Without saying a word, he sent out countless master recognition seals towards the undying divine feat. The undying divine feat wanted to dodge, but Ning Fan activated the contract power of the ghost flower of the netherworld and fixed it on the spot. Dozens of master recognition seals entered its body. The undying divine feat did not succeed in recognizing its master. Obviously, more seals were needed in order to subdue an ancient great cultivator. Thus, Ning Fan continued to plant the seals. After planting 1,100 master recognition seals, the undying divine feat was finally forcefully recognized by him. The undying divine feat no longer treated Ning Fan as an enemy. It actually lowered its proud head and knelt down respectfully towards Ning Fan. Its eyes were filled with loyalty. "The divine feat swears allegiance to my master until death." It was actually tamed just like that. Even an ancient great cultivator could not withstand this technique. Ning Fan was amazed. However, he also knew that the undying divine feat was just a special case. This person had already become a ghost soldier and had a contract with him. It was just that he was unruly deep in his heart. Therefore, the difficulty of making him recognize its master was far lower than that of ordinary great cultivators. If Ning Fan wants to forcefully subdue a great cultivator with the master recognition seals, he would first have to plant a seal that was a few times stronger than the undying divine feat on the other party. Since the other party was a great cultivator, how could he possibly be obedient and allow Ning Fan to plant seals on him? Planting a few thousand seals on a great cultivator was no different from hitting a great cultivator with a divine ability a few thousand times. At this stage, it was quite impossible. It's not very practical to use this technique to capture ancient great cultivators. However, there should be a more heaven-defying use. Ning Fan's interest in the new technique increased greatly. He glanced around and suddenly noticed some formation light coming from not far away. "I see. This place is where the grand formation protecting the Xianpin Palace is located. If that's the case, after consuming 25 master recognition seals, the grand formation of the palace successfully recognized him as its master." Old Ancestor Nu Luo, who was unaware of the situation, was naturally shocked when she sensed it. Lord Barbarian God has already come out from his seclusion. What did he do? How could he take away the grand formation of this place from my hands so easily? It was just a grand formation. Old Ancestor Nu Luo naturally would not care about the gains and losses. What she cared about was Ning Fan's method. After consuming 1,400 master recognition seals, the Xianpin Palace successfully recognized him as its master. Old Ancestor Nu Luo, who had just recovered from the shock, was astonished again. "Impossible! I've been in charge of the Xianpin Palace for countless years, but I still couldn't make this palace truly listen to my orders. I can only barely control it. However, just now, this palace actually has a master, and the master is actually Lord Barbarian God." After consuming 19,000 master recognition seals, the 12 North Pole palaces of Ziwei successfully recognized him as their master. Something happened. Something happened. The master of the North Pole Palace has returned. The purple dome appeared in the sky. It was actually the reappearance of the legendary purple dome phenomenon. In the past, this phenomenon would only appear when venerated Ziwei returned. Could it be? Could it be that the master is still alive and he has returned to this place from the end of samsara? This is impossible. How is this possible? At this moment, all the demons and devils in the 12 palaces of the North Pole Palace were in a state of panic. At this moment, the sky of the 12 palaces was filled with purple clouds. The purple dome appeared in the sky. Countless chanting sounds reverberated between heaven and earth. Countless shadows of ancient immortals walked out from heaven and earth like mirages and illusions. All of them bowed towards Ningfan's direction and bowed. It was as if they were kowtowing to an ancient immortal sovereign. Even the foreign races in the northern heavens sensed the abnormality of the North Pole Palace. Countless old monsters were alarmed by this matter and wanted to find out what was going on. Impossible! The North Pole Palace has already lost its master. How is it possible for it to regain its master? Could it be? Could it be? Ningfan did not know how much of a commotion he had caused. In fact, he was also a little surprised. This place was the former abode of a fourth-step immortal sovereign. Even if that immortal sovereign had passed away, it was impossible for this palace to be taken away by others. In the past, Ningfan still had to rely on the communication between all living things to take away the fire continent from this place. This time, however, he casually took away the entire North Pole Palace and became the master of this place. This ability that allows all living things to recognize their master can even take away the belongings of an immortal sovereign. Isn't this a little too? Isn't it too heaven-defying? Ordinary people would probably check their gains after taking away the abode of an immortal sovereign by accident. However, Ningfan did not do that. At this moment, he was more concerned about the divine technique that he had just comprehended. Even though this technique could even take away the abode of a fourth-step immortal sovereign, Ningfan still felt that this was not the limit of this technique. Suddenly, he had a sudden inspiration and a bold idea popped up in his mind. Then he sent out several owner recognition seals towards the void in the sky. In the end, after consuming 33,000 owner recognition seals, the time law of this world successfully recognized him as its master. I can even control the flow of time in this world at will? Ningfan asked in surprise. Isn't it just controlling time? Many saints can do it too. What's there to be surprised about? Time means nothing to us saints. The voice of the Ant Lord sounded in his sea of consciousness. In fact, her tone was very sour. Damn it! This brat has gained another heaven-defying technique. This ability to recognize all living things as their master is really against the rules. Could it be that everything that exists in this world can be recognized as their master? Could it be that everything that exists in this world can be recognized as their master? Ancient divine beings and whatnot are really domineering, barbaric and rude. It's really enviable. Stop. What are you doing? What are you trying to do to me? Take back your owner recognition seals. The Ant Lord was feeling sour when she was suddenly startled. This time, it seemed like Ningfan was planning to use her as a test subject to test the power of the owner recognition seals. Even though she was the remnant soul of a saint, even the abode of an immortal sovereign was no match for this technique. How could she have the confidence to resist it? When she thought about how her will might be changed and she would obey Ningfan's orders obediently after getting hit by this technique, the Ant Lord was really frightened. Luckily, Ningfan was just joking. He did not really do anything to her. I'm just joking. Ningfan said with a smile. Who are you trying to fool? The Ant Lord did not believe him at all. This brat did not even spare her and even dared to use her as his master. Who knows what other tricks he could play with the owner recognition seals. He was actually playing with a pitiful and lonely ant like her. Strange. The Ant Lord originally wanted to quarrel with Ningfan for a while more, but she suddenly sensed something. Her expression changed and she became furious. I'm just joking. Why are you so angry? Ningfan was surprised. I'm not trying to anger you. It's Yifuyao. Something has happened to the body that I've just found. The ant lord said with a cold expression. Quickly go outside. Go and serve the female clan. Go and save her. Quick. Chapter 1259. Rewind the time to a few days ago. On that day, Ning Fan came to the Black Sea Palace and went into seclusion. A few days later, Ji Fuyao, who was following closely behind Ning Fan, had completed the task of collecting the fragments of versatile news along the way. He had also arrived at Xian Pin Palace. However, he missed the opportunity to hand over the fragment to Ning Fan because he was a step late. Left with no choice, he could only seek an audience with the master of the palace, old ancestor Nu Luo. Greetings, Senior Nu Luo. I have something to ask you. I wonder if Senior can tell me? Nu Luo chuckled. Just ask whatever it is. You know Lord Ning, so you don't have to be too formal when you talk to me. Senior Nu Luo, may I ask how long Senior Ning will be in seclusion for? Nu Luo replied, never. Then, how long do you think Senior Ning will be in seclusion for? Nu Luo answered, Lord is in seclusion to refine and absorb the food he ate along the way. Judging from the amount he ate, ordinary people would have to enter seclusion for at least 1,000 years. However, with his capabilities, he might come out in less than 100 years. Ji Fuyao exclaimed, What should I do? Do I have to wait for 100 years before I can see Senior Ning again? Nu Luo asked, From what you said, you have an urgent matter to discuss with Lord? Ji Fuyao answered, It's not really urgent. Nu Luo chuckled. You don't have to hide this from me. I am a quasi-saint realm expert after all, and I have the ancient mirror of Mount Wu. I have already found out about you and Lord. You have the intention to help Lord collect the fragments of versatile knowledge. Now that you have collected quite a lot of them, you naturally want to offer them to Senior as soon as possible. This is the first reason why you came to the North Pole Palace this time, to look for the soul-transforming leaf, Saint Extermination Grass, and Dao Sealing Spirit Spring, right? Lord has promised to help you find them, but he still hasn't gotten the Dao Sealing Spirit Spring of the Star Discipline Palace. However, you are in a hurry to use it. Naturally, you hope that Lord can come out of seclusion as soon as possible. This is the second reason. Ji Fuyao sighed. Senior is really amazing. I can't hide anything from you. Nu Luo giggled. You don't have to be so anxious. When the Lord first entered seclusion, he entrusted me to go to the Star Discipline Palace and retrieve the Dao Sealing Spirit Spring for you. Since we've already obtained this item, you can just take it. As for the fragment that you want to give to Master, just give it to me. When Master comes out of seclusion, I will pass it to him. Ji Fuyao, Senior Ning is obviously in a hurry to enter seclusion, but before you enter seclusion, you are still thinking about what you promised me. Just like that, Ji Fuyao gratefully obtained the third item she was looking for. Many days had passed since she entered the North Star Palace. Back then, she had sent a message to all the races. At this moment, there must have been a large number of alchemists who had accepted the invitation and were waiting for her to return and refine perfected Lord Beihai to death. When he thought up to here, it wasn't appropriate for Ji Fuyao to continue staying here, and it was time to leave. There was only one thing that made her feel regretful. She still wanted to see Ning Fan again and thank him for his kindness. However, she did not have the chance to do so now. Nu Luo said, Senior had instructed us before he entered. He knew that you were in a hurry to return to the Feng Nu tribe, so he asked me to tell you that you don't have to wait for him to come out of seclusion. It's more important to deal with your business. I understand. If that's the case, I will leave now. Ji Fuyao stood outside the old parasol tree where Ning Fan was in seclusion. Suddenly, she knelt down and kowtowed 9 times in the direction of the cave door. Then, she stared at the cave door for a long time before performing a technique to leave the North Star Palace. Since she could not thank him in person, she did not say another word before she left. However, this kindness had been deeply engraved in her heart. She did not dare to forget it. She could only wait to repay him with her life and death in the future. Outside the North Star Palace of the Feng Nu tribe in the North Boundary River, purple light suddenly flashed in the sea. Then, the light condensed and a person walked out of it. It was Ji Fuyao. The members of the Feng Nu tribe who were waiting here were overjoyed when they saw their clan leader had returned safely. However, when they took a closer look, they realized that Ji Fuyao had actually lost his physical body and only his demon soul was left. All of them were shocked and furious. How hateful! The demons of the North Star Palace actually dared to do such a vicious thing to the king. The members of the Feng Nu tribe were filled with righteous indignation. One should know that Ji Fuyao had a very high prestige in the clan. He was highly respected by the members of the clan. Naturally, they could not remain calm in the face of this matter. She just lost her physical body. She can just cultivate it again in the future. Don't make a big deal out of it. Ji Fuyao's tone was cold. When facing Ning Fan, Ji Fuyao's behavior was like that of an ordinary woman. It was because that was her original appearance. However, when facing her clan members, she had to maintain the dignity of the clan leader. She had to suppress her true nature and give up on simple happiness. Otherwise, she would not be able to protect her clan members. Otherwise, she would not be able to protect the home that her father and mother left for her. May I ask your majesty if your wish was fulfilled during this trip? One of the clan elders asked nervously. Yes. I've obtained all 3 types of medicinal herbs. Your majesty, you've worked hard. Worked hard? What do I have to work hard for? All 3 types of medicinal herbs were obtained by a kind-hearted senior for me. If it wasn't for him, not to mention obtaining the medicinal herbs, I would have lost my life in the North Star Palace. Ah? A kind-hearted senior actually helped your majesty. Our clan will definitely remember such a great favor. The members of the clan said, we should remember this favor. By the way, how many pill refinement masters came after I was away? Ji Fuyao asked. No less than 200 of them. All of them are 8th Revolution pill refinement masters and above. There are even 12 9th Revolution pill refinement masters. There are quite a number of them. Ji Fuyao asked for more details and felt a little tired. During these days in the North Star Palace, she had been fleeing for her life, getting severely injured and searching for fragments of polylore everywhere. She rarely had any rest. Now that she felt relieved, the exhaustion immediately overwhelmed her. Naturally, she could not hide her tiredness from the officials. Thus, they advised her, since your majesty has returned, why don't you take a rest? We will inform the pill refinement masters who came after the invitation. 7 days later, we will open the cauldron to concoct pills and kill that old bastard. 7 days is too long. Inform everyone that we will open the cauldron tomorrow. That old bastard is definitely not an ordinary person. The longer we keep him alive, the more dangerous it will be. Ji Fuyao ordered. Tomorrow? Your majesty also needs to participate in the process of refining and killing that old bastard. It's better for you to rest for a few more days and build up your strength. It's all right. I'm not tired. Someone, bring me an artificial skeleton. It will temporarily serve as my physical body. I cannot appear in a pathetic state as a demon soul during the furnace opening ceremony tomorrow. Understood. The words, furnace opening ceremony, resonated in the hearts of every Feng Nu clansman. Refining and killing true monarch North Sea tomorrow was not just an execution. It was also a celebration that belonged solely to the Feng Nu clan. The night was as cold as the sea. Ji Fuyao, who had already donned the artificial skeleton, stood in front of the window and gazed at the night view of the clan grounds. Memories flowed quietly in her mind. She missed her father and mother. He missed it so much that his heart ached. However, his king father and queen mother would never be able to return. The only thing that made her feel relieved was that perfected monarch Beihai, who was guilty of numerous crimes, could be executed tomorrow. She could finally comfort her parents in heaven. Hiss! The pain in her body interrupted Ji Fuyao's recollection. She was currently wearing the artificial skeleton that was unique to North Border River. The so-called artificial skeleton was a temporary substitute for the physical body. For a short period of time, the person who wore it would be no different from possessing a physical body. However, it could not truly replace the physical body. That was because the artificial skeleton was not a real physical body. Forcefully fusing the demon soul with the artificial skeleton would cause the two to be incompatible. Every time she circulated her magic power, she would feel intense pain. This artificial skeleton is indeed not a long-term solution. When this matter is over, I'll build a new physical body. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, a series of cracking sounds came from outside the window. Ji Fuyao's beautiful eyes narrowed as she looked in the direction of the cracking sounds. She saw a middle-aged man tearing apart space and walking out. It was a white-haired man surrounded by the light of 9-colored providence. However, the moment he arrived, he quietly retracted the light of providence. His face was filled with the vicissitudes of life, but it was cold and emotionless. His white hair seemed to have a life of its own as it fluttered in the wind. His eyes seemed to contain the entire starry sky, so bright that one could not look at them directly. The moment he stood there, the entire Feng Nu clan seemed to have changed owners. Even the heavenly Tao had to listen to him. His arrival caused quite a commotion, but if he was unwilling, no one apart from Ji Fuyao would be able to detect his arrival. You again. 3-stage celestial sovereigns, Lai Yuko. Ji Fuyao's expression turned ugly when she saw the newcomer. A trace of disgust was hidden in her beautiful eyes. She clearly recognized the newcomer. The newcomer was definitely not ordinary. He was an ancient great cultivator who belonged to the foreign races of the northern border river. He had a position above tens of thousands of people and was the leader of the 3-stage celestial sovereigns elected by the various races of the border river. He had the authority to supervise the various races. Ji Fuyao did not feel the slightest bit of respect for such a person. It was this person. Back then, it was this person who had clearly received news of True Lord North Sea attacking the Feng Nu clan, but had not asked about it. What bullshit leader of the 3-stage celestial sovereigns? He was just a person who did not do anything. There was no need to respect him. The white-haired great cultivator called Lai Yuko did not seem to be angered by a junior calling him by his name. His gaze was still calm, so calm that no emotion could be seen. It was as if he was indifferent to the common people. Humans would not be angered by the disrespect of ants because they could not hear the disrespect of ants. This was the feeling that Lai Yuko was giving off at this moment. This attitude again. This person doesn't care about the affairs of the world at all. Why would such a person be chosen to supervise the myriad races? Ji Fuyao felt powerless and cold. At this moment, Lai Yuko suddenly spoke. Immediately end the furnace opening ceremony. This is the order of the myriad races. What? Ji Fuyao's beautiful eyes widened in anger. She did not understand why the aloof Lai Yuko would say such words. Not only that, you have to release that True Lord North Sea as well. You are not allowed to refine him to death, Lai Yuko added. Why? Senior is also an immortal cultivator of the Z-Wei immortal realm. Since you know that I have a blood feud with that North Sea old thief, how can you say such words? Ji Fuyao said indignantly. You are not qualified to know the reason behind it. But if you want to follow in the footsteps of your father and mother, you might as well disobey this order. Lai Yuko said indifferently. He was only here to announce the order, not to answer people's questions. Since the order had been conveyed, his figure flashed and floated away, leaving behind Ji Fuyao, who looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She knew that Lai Yuko's orders were absolute because Lai Yuko represented the myriad races of the border river. If she did not comply with the order to release True Lord North Sea, it would be equivalent to becoming enemies with the myriad races of the boundary river. But why? True Lord North Sea was clearly a cultivator of the northern heaven, an enemy of the myriad races of the boundary river. Why did the myriad races of the Z-Wei immortal realm have to protect an outsider and an enemy? She could not understand the reason behind it. She only felt that it was unfair. She had sacrificed everything just to avenge her parents. As an ally of the myriad races, they did not help at all when she was avenging her parents but wanted to obstruct her when she was about to achieve her wish. They were simply immoral. The next day, dawn. The furnace opening ceremony of the Feng Nu tribe was held as scheduled. In the end, Ji Fuyao did not obey the orders of the myriad races. This was her choice and the choice of the entire Feng Nu tribe. Even if this choice went against the will of the myriad races of the Boundary River, they would not hesitate. My king! This is bad. Those pill refiners who were invited suddenly left one after another. They are not willing to help us kill that old bastard North Sea. We can't continue with the ceremony this time. A soldier reported. Damn it. Is this also the will of the myriad races? Ji Fuyao gritted her teeth. She knew that things were not so simple. Since the myriad races did not allow her to kill true Lord North Sea, the pill refiners invited from the myriad races would naturally not help her. This way, things were back to square one. The Feng Nu tribe alone did not have the ability to kill true Lord North Sea. But why was all this happening? At first, when Ji Fuyao received the orders from the myriad races, she indeed felt that it was unfair and angry. However, she calmed down and pondered for an entire night. Finally, she found some suspicious points. It was not that the myriad races did not allow her to kill true Lord North Sea from the start. If they did not allow it from the start, those pill refiners would not have accepted the invitation in the first place. But the truth was that these pill refiners suddenly left at this moment. That Lai Yuko also only suddenly came to announce the orders of the myriad races on the night before the ceremony. Did something happen at the last minute that made the myriad races decide not to kill North Sea? Judging from Lai Yuko's attitude, there is a secret that I do not have the right to know. Ji Fuyao's heart was heavy. Another soldier came forward with a joyful expression. Good news, good news. It turns out that not all the pill refiners have left. Many have decided to stay after some consideration. The ceremony can be held as scheduled again. That's great. Ji Fuyao was naturally very happy to hear that, but more than that, she found it strange. The orders of the myriad races were absolute. Since they did not allow the ceremony to be held, it was reasonable to say that all the pill refiners should have left. However, the reality was that there were still some who chose to stay. Although they could obtain the promised reward from the Feng Nu tribe, they would offend the myriad races if they stayed. It did not seem very wise. Your Majesty, the ceremony has already begun. Would you like to attend the ceremony immediately? Of course I will. Ji Fuyao rode a luxurious fish carriage to the venue of the ceremony. The venue was packed with people. Countless foreign race cultivators had gathered here and were discussing. This is so satisfying. I didn't expect the Feng Nu tribe to have the ability to capture a northern heaven quasi-saint. If we can refine and kill this North Sea old bastard, we will definitely raise the prestige of our myriad races. This public execution is definitely a slap to the face of the northern heaven cultivators. Refine and kill. I'm really looking forward to refining a prisoner into a pill. I can't wait to see true monarch North Sea's miserable expression. Those who were discussing this were mostly low-level cultivators. They did not know that the myriad races had changed their minds and forbade the killing of true monarch North Sea. I didn't expect true monarch North Sea to be here. The reason why he was captured by the Feng Nu tribe is probably because of the spatial turbulence from the battle that day. The battle that day? What do you mean? Fellow Taoist, don't you know? Not long ago, a shocking battle took place in the Northern Heaven Lost World Palace. Many quasi-saints went to the Lost World Palace to create trouble, and the leader was this true monarch North Sea. The North Sea true monarch had so many people that he did not even put the Lost World Palace in his eyes. Unexpectedly, an ancient great cultivator named Zhao Jian appeared out of nowhere and killed all the demi-saints and ancient emperors in the North Sea true monarch single-handedly. After that, a spatial turbulence swept that great cultivator Zhao Jian away. Fellow Taoist, do you mean that true monarch North Sea escaped from Zhao Jian's hands by using the spatial turbulence? That's right. Unfortunately, he managed to escape once, but he can't escape forever. After that, he fell into the hands of the Feng Nu tribe. I'm afraid he's going to suffer again. I just don't know what the myriad races think about this matter. Why is it that when things come to a head, they suddenly... Most of the people who were discussing like this were well-informed people. Not only did they hear about the battle between Ning Fan and true monarch North Sea, they even received some news about the temporary order of the myriad races. There were also some old monsters who had attained the immortal emperor realm who were secretly discussing about this matter. This Fuyao tribe really doesn't care about the big picture. The myriad races have already given the order. How dare she disobey it and insist on executing true monarch North Sea? Big picture? It's not like you and I don't know about it. With Lord Lai Yuko's personality, it's certainly impossible for him to tell this kind of secret to Fuyao tribe. After all, sometimes, it's not a good thing to know too much. Even though that lord is cold and hard, he never likes to involve the innocent. I'm afraid that Fuyao tribe doesn't know how important this true monarch North Sea is to the myriad races. That's true. This matter is of great importance. That Fuyao tribe probably doesn't know the inside story. However, if she insists on executing true monarch North Sea, shouldn't we step forward to stop her? The order has already been passed to her. If she doesn't obey, someone will naturally make her pay the price. It has nothing to do with our myriad races. As for what happens after that, we don't need to care about it. After all, everything is Fuyao tribe's own choice. She has to suffer the consequences herself. Listening to what fellow Taoist said, could it be that those devils on the Devil Conferral Summit are really going to... That's right. The Devil Lord of the Devil Conferral Summit won't just sit and watch North Sea die. He will certainly send someone to save him. After today, the Fengnu tribe might cease to exist. What a pity! My Dao companion has just died. I originally wanted to choose Fuyao tribe as my new Dao companion, but it seems like I won't have the chance anymore. Ji Fuyao didn't know what those old monsters were talking about her behind her back. Her gaze was completely fixed on the Heaven Abyss Great Cauldron at the center of the venue. The cauldron was about 100 feet tall. It was condensed from the punishment power of the Heaven Abyss prison and existed specifically for execution. At this moment, true monarch North Sea's primordial spirit was locked inside the cauldron. He was meditating and recuperating from his injuries. The aqua-blue Tao of rain surrounded his body, exuding a threatening immortal qi. His expression was as usual. There wasn't the slightest bit of nervousness from someone about to be executed. His fingers calculated from time to time, but he was calculating the time of Ji Fuyao's death. Below the cauldron stood 50 to 60 pill refinement masters. There were originally 200 of them, but because everyone had left, only these were left. On the surface, these pill refinement masters looked no different from ordinary foreign race cultivators. However, if there was a fiend Dao Grandmaster present, he would definitely be able to tell that a fiend seed had been planted in these pill refinement masters' sea of consciousness. They were already under the control of a fiend Dao Grandmaster. No wonder these people didn't leave. They didn't have a choice. Your Majesty, the auspicious hour has arrived. Should we open the cauldron now? An armored soldier asked respectfully. There's no rush. I have a secret order. Carry it with you and execute it swiftly. I'll open the furnace once you complete it. As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Fuyao sent a voice transmission to the armored soldier and gave the order. Upon hearing the contents of the order, the armored soldier's expression changed drastically. There was no other reason. This order was for him to quickly gather the younger members of the clan, escape from this place, and never return. It turned out that Ji Fuyao had already sensed all sorts of abnormalities and had a premonition that the Fengnu clan would face a great calamity today. When the nest was overturned, no eggs would remain intact. That was also why Ji Fuyao had given the order for the younger generation of the clan to escape at the last minute. If there really was a mishap, the Fengnu clan would still have descendants. Your Majesty, why did you give such an order? Could it be that a great calamity is about to befall our clan? The armored soldier was so frightened that his face turned pale. Emowen, carry out the order quickly. Ji Fuyao sighed. Time passed bit by bit. Ji Fuyao calculated the time and thought that the younger generation of the clan should have already left this place. Thus, he gave the order to open the cauldron. Within the ice-cold Heaven Abyss cauldron, raging flames were suddenly ignited. This fire was not ordinary. At first, it was only the power of the Samadhi true fire, but it quickly rose to the 6th, 9th, and 12th levels. The 12th level true fire was the pinnacle of acquired true fire. Even an immortal emperor would find it hard to remain calm after being burned by such a true fire. However, true Lord Bei-hai did not seem to feel uncomfortable at all within the sea of fire. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. He was a second-stage quasi-saint, the holder of the title of Rain Master. His cultivation was the natural bane of fire. Did he want to burn him to death? Acquired true fire wasn't enough. Even innate true fire had to reach a certain level before it could harm him. Little kid, your cauldron fire isn't strong enough. True Lord Bei-hai's disdainful laughter traveled outside the cauldron and reverberated between heaven and earth. It exploded in the ears of every cultivator present like a clap of thunder, as if the sky was collapsing. This was the pressure of a second-stage quasi-saint. Under that pressure, countless foreign race cultivators were so intimidated that they could not stand steadily. Even an immortal king like Ji Fuyao felt dizzy and overwhelmed with shock. Was this the power of a second-stage quasi-saint? Even if he was heavily injured and on the verge of death, even if he was locked in a cauldron, even if he was separated by thousands of mountains and rivers, he only needed a thought and a wisp of his pressure to subdue all living beings. Don't be smug. Since you think the cauldron fire isn't strong enough, I'll make it burn even stronger. Ji Fuyao forcefully suppressed the shock in her heart, gritted her teeth, and walked toward the heaven abyss cauldron. When she arrived before the cauldron, she suddenly raised her hand and took out a treasure. The moment it appeared, the entire venue was instantly drowned in boundless purple light. That treasure was the token of immortal Emperor Ziwei, a supreme treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Feng Nu tribe. So this is the token of the immortal emperor. So it's true that the Feng Nu tribe has this item. Secretly, countless old monsters were shocked, and then revealed greed. There were also some old monsters who knew about this long ago, but they weren't too surprised. They just stared at the treasure with burning eyes. This was the supreme treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Feng Nu tribe, and the previous emperors of the Feng Nu tribe would never show it to others. This time, perhaps because she had a premonition that a great disaster was about to befall her, Ji Fuyao didn't continue to hide this item, and instead displayed it in public. Firstly, it was to refine and kill true Lord Bei-hai. Secondly, it was to warn the myriad races that although the Feng Nu tribe had declined, they were still the gatekeepers appointed by immortal Emperor Ziwei, and they wouldn't allow outsiders to bully them. True Lord Bei-hai's expression finally changed when he saw the token of the immortal emperor, and his expression turned solemn. True as expected. As Ji Fuyao took out the immortal emperor's token, the power of the cauldron fire that was originally equivalent to the power of the Hotian realm suddenly skyrocketed. It rose all the way to the power of the Khanate inferior grade. True Lord Bei-hai might not be afraid of such a powerful cauldron fire. After all, true Lord Bei-hai cultivated in the water element, so even if the Khanate fire were to go against him, its power would be greatly reduced, and it wouldn't hurt much. However, if true Lord Bei-hai were to stay in the innate cauldron fire for a long period of time, he would still suffer a little given his injuries. Good. Very good. You actually dare to use the token of the immortal emperor to suppress me. Very good. True Lord Bei-hai's tone finally turned sinister. As the cauldron fire grew stronger, he finally let out a few muffled groans. Obviously, he was slightly hurt by the fire. However, it was still wishful thinking to kill a second-level titled quasi-saint with just this cauldron fire. But what if I add these 3 items? Ji Fuyao took a deep breath and took out the 3 items again. They were none other than the Saint Vanquishing Grass, the Soul-Dissolving Leaf, and the Tao Sealing Spirit Spring that Ning Fan had found for him. When the Saint Vanquishing Grass was thrown into the cauldron fire, true Lord Bei-hai's quasi-saint chi kept declining. His cultivation base was actually being suppressed by this item. When the Soul-Dissolving Leaf was thrown into the cauldron fire, true Lord Bei-hai felt great pain in the depths of his primordial spirit, as if he was going to be refined alive. When the Tao Sealing Spirit Spring was thrown into the cauldron fire, True Lord Bei Hai felt that his Tao sense was being suppressed. The rain intent that was originally at 100% of its power was reduced to less than 1%. In that case, how could he withstand the blazing cauldron fire? He immediately let out a series of miserable cries. Those were the cries of a second level titled Quasi-Saint. Everyone at the scene felt their scalps go numb when they heard it. Immortal emperors were already the peak of the Dharma ending era. Compared to immortal emperors, quasi-saints were much more profound and unfathomable. Ordinary people might not even see a quasi-saint in their entire lives, let alone hear such miserable cries from a quasi-saint. This Feng Nu clan is really crazy. They actually dared to publicly execute a second-level titled quasi-saint and wanted to refine him into a pill. Only at this moment did some of them feel that this matter was real. Only then did they understand how deviant and crazy the actions of the Feng Nu clan were. Based on this situation, if there is no external intervention, this Feng Nu clan really has the ability to refine and kill true Lord Bei Hai. The expressions of those old monsters who were hiding in the dark changed. Witnessing the execution of a second-level titled quasi-saint with their own eyes, and this person was an enemy indeed, made their blood boil. Unfortunately, there will definitely be external intervention in this matter. This true Lord Bei Hai is too important. This person must not die here. Masters, old Lord Bei Hai is no longer able to withstand the cauldron fire. Everyone can start refining this puppet. Once everything was ready, Ji Fuyao bowed to the surrounding elixir refinement masters and said politely, "Rest assured, Your Majesty. With us here, we will definitely refine this true Lord Bei Hai into a pill and offer it to you." The elixir refinement masters swore. One by one, the elixir refinement masters released the power of their medicine souls and used them to control the cauldron fire to refine true Lord Bei Hai. At first glance, these people really seemed to be refining and killing true Lord Bei Hai. However, only true Lord Bei Hai, who was in the cauldron fire, knew that at this moment, not only was he not being refined, but someone was healing him instead. This feeling of medicine soul healing, could it be? True Lord Bei Hai seemed to have sensed something and was instantly delighted. How could he not know that his good friend from the 3 mountains 5 peaks had come to save him? However, this good friend of his had a really wicked sense of humor. He actually did not show himself directly to save him from the execution ground. This good friend was actually making use of this execution to heal his injuries, heal the injuries of his essence spirit, and reconstruct his physical body. This way of doing things could not be wrong. It was definitely the elixir cultivation old demon from the Demon Conferral Summit who was saving him. I told you that my friend from the Demon Conferral Summit is very close to me. He won't leave me be. Since he knew that his safety was not a problem, true Lord Bei Hai became calm again and quietly healed his injuries in the cauldron fire. Outside, the elixir refinement masters were still acting like they were trying their best to refine true Lord Bei Hai. They continuously threw rare medicinal herbs into the cauldron fire, all of which were obtained from the Feng Nu tribe's treasury. Endless medicinal power spread in the cauldron fire. The medicine souls of dozens of elixir refinement masters were guided by a wisp of dark purple medicine soul hidden in the cauldron fire, guiding the medicinal power to nourish true Lord Bei Hai's severely injured essence spirit. After a day, the injuries of his essence spirit were mostly healed. After 3 days, the injuries of his essence spirit were completely healed. After 5 days, his physical body started to regenerate. After 7 days, his physical body was completely reconstructed. Other than the pill-nurturing old devil who was manipulating everything behind the scenes, no one knew that true Lord Bei Hai was not killed. Instead, his injuries had completely healed and his qi had also recovered to its peak. Reconstructing his physical body in just 7 days made true Lord Bei Hai click his tongue in admiration. Fellow Taoist nurturing pill's ancient devil soul nurturing technique has improved a lot again. Such a healing technique is almost on par with fellow Taoist Chong Sang's 3 mulberry ancient tree. I inadvertently thought of fellow Taoist Chong Sang again. True Lord Bei Hai immediately felt a piercing pain in his heart. It's killing me. Many of his good friends had died in Ning Fan's hands. He really wished he could cut Ning Fan into 1,000 pieces and offer him as a sacrifice to his friends. No, I can't be too hasty. That bastard's methods are powerful. Previously, I called all my friends over but they still failed to kill him. This time, I must plan carefully and make more preparations. Only then will I have the confidence to eliminate this bastard. Fellow Taoist is showing your killing intent. Is there someone you want to kill? Suddenly, a voice came from the cauldron fire. No one else but true Lord Beihai could hear it. It was the voice of the pill-nurturing old devil who was secretly healing him. That's right. There's a bastard who is extremely hateful. He killed all of my friends. I really wish I could grind his bones and scatter his ashes. Unfortunately, this bastard's methods are too powerful. I'm not his match alone. I'm afraid the day of my revenge is still far away. True Lord Beihai gritted his teeth and said, If I can't do it alone, why don't I gather everyone's strength? In the future, when fellow Taoist wants to take revenge, just call me along. I really want to see what kind of superhuman abilities this bastard has. How dare he go against my elder brother? The pill-nurturing old devil said heroically. Because of this matter, I have already implicated many of my friends. How can I let you get involved in this matter? Why are you being so polite to me? You and I are friends who have gone through life and death together. Your matter is also my matter. It's fine if I don't know about this matter. Since I know about it, I certainly can't just sit back and do nothing. How can I repay your kindness? True Lord Beihai said with gratitude. If you really want to repay me, a pot of wine is enough. The pill-nurturing old devil was still full of heroism. Speaking of which, you've already recovered from your injuries. Do you plan to continue resting in this cauldron and let me nurse your body? Or do you want to come out of seclusion and teach this Feng Nu clan a lesson? The pill-nurturing old devil asked. After nursing for a long time, my qi and blood are not flowing smoothly. It's time for me to come out and exercise. True Lord Beihai was smiling, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. How dare an ant from the Feng Nu clan use him to refine a cauldron? If he endured such humiliation, he wouldn't be true Lord Beihai. I wonder how true Lord Beihai is doing in the cauldron. It's been so many days. I don't think I've heard him scream anymore. Could it be that he's been refined to the point where he's half dead and can't scream anymore? If that's the case, it'll be very interesting. Some of the spectators were discussing true Lord Beihai in the Heaven Abyss Cauldron. Suddenly, they heard a series of explosions and their expressions changed drastically. Boom boom boom. The Heaven Abyss Cauldron was rumbling. It was as if someone was attacking the cauldron from the inside, trying to shatter it. There were no explosions, but a huge shock wave came from the cauldron, sending countless alchemists and spectators flying. It can't be. That true Lord Beihai is still alive. He still has the strength to attack the Heaven Abyss Cauldron from the inside. What a powerful shock wave. That person still has such strength. Could it be that he's really coming out of the cauldron? That's impossible. The Heaven Abyss Cauldron is formed from the punishment power of the Heaven Abyss Prison. Coupled with the Immortal Emperor's token, even a quasi-sage would find it hard to escape. But that true Lord Beihai isn't an ordinary quasi-sage. He's a second stage titled quasi-sage. He's one of the few existences in the world. Oh no, the cauldron is cracking. Retreat, retreat quickly. That thing is really coming out. Oh no. Boom, with a deafening sound, the Heaven Abyss Cauldron finally shattered. A sage-like old man surrounded by the radiance of rain walked out from within. As soon as he appeared, he immediately stirred up a storm of blood. True Lord Beihai's rain intent dispersed. Countless spectators who had mocked him were washed into a pool of blood by the rain intent. Even their demonic souls couldn't escape. Ji Fuyao's face was pale as she watched everything. True Lord Beihai's injuries had healed and even his physical body had been reconstructed. How could she not know that true Lord Beihai hadn't been refined in the slightest over the past few days? Instead, his injuries had been healed. Now, the ferocious tiger was out of the cage. We're all cultivators of the myriad races and descendants of Ziwei. Why are you helping an enemy? Moreover, this enemy is someone who has committed countless crimes. Ji Fuyao thought that it was the myriad races who had saved true sovereign North Sea. Even if the myriad races didn't take action personally, they must have tacitly agreed to it. At this moment, Ji Fuyao felt deeply disappointed in the myriad races of the Boundary River. Is this how the Ziwei immortal cultivators do things? If that's the case, she would no longer be the Ziwei immortal cultivators. From today onwards, she would abandon the Ziwei name. I, North Sea, am here to annihilate the entire race. Those who stand in my way shall be destroyed in both body and soul, never to be reincarnated. True Lord Beihai walked amidst the storm of blood and smiled benevolently. However, his words were extremely cold-blooded. His murderous intent locked onto everyone from the Fengnu tribe in an instant. It was obvious that he didn't intend to let anyone off. Quite a number of people from the Fengnu clans seemed to have run away. Did they escape in advance? You're quite sharp, kid. You knew that something would go wrong today. Did you want to leave a legacy for your clan? True Lord Beihai's eyes narrowed as he looked at Ji Fuyao. It was just a gaze, but Ji Fuyao felt as if all the rain in the world had drowned her eyes. She only felt a sharp pain in her eyes before they turned into blood and were destroyed. Don't worry. None of the people I want to kill can escape. I'll find those who left this place one by one and kill them all. As for you, didn't you want to refine me to death? It's impolite not to reciprocate. Then, I won't give you a quick death. I'll refine you into a pill as well. Haha, this feeling of revenge is really delightful. Delightful. True Lord Beihai raised his sleeve and swept up the endless rainwater, turning it into a gigantic cauldron. He wanted to suck Ji Fuyao into it and refine her to death. This feeling of revenge is really good. Today, I'll vent my anger on this Fengnu clan. He had no other choice. He had suffered too much in Ningfan's hands and he didn't have the confidence to take revenge on Ningfan for the time being. He had been suppressing his anger in his heart for a long time. Now, he could use this matter to vent his anger. He wanted to vent his anger. He wanted to make this insignificant junior, Fuyao, beg for death. He wanted to, just as true Lord Beihai was about to attack Fuyao, the situation suddenly changed. The rainwater that he swept up was no longer under his control. It no longer obeyed his orders and could not move Ji Fuyao at all. Even the gigantic cauldron that he condensed from the rainwater collapsed in a single breath. He raised his head abruptly and his eyes widened. At this moment, the rainwater between heaven and earth no longer obeyed his orders. They only obeyed one person. At this moment, a person arrived on 9 dragons. His body was shrouded in golden light like the sun. It was as if a deity had appeared in the world. It was Ningfan who listened to the Lord Ant's request and left the North Pole Palace to return to the outside world. He had already made the North Pole Palace acknowledge him as its master. Naturally, he could come and go as he wished. It was as easy as entering and exiting the profound Yin world. Everyone was shocked by Ningfan's sudden appearance. A moment ago, this place was still enveloped by true Lord Beihai's rain aura force. Everyone felt that true Lord Beihai's divine might was unparalleled and invincible. At the next moment, an even more ruthless person arrived. The rain aura force was even stronger. Even true Lord Beihai felt like he was standing in front of him. Who is this? Why did he come here? He's Zhao Jian, the ancient great cultivator who killed all the saints in the battle of the Lost World Palace. Hiss! Countless people sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone was shocked by Ningfan's ferocious reputation. One should know that the myriad of races in the border river were at war with the cultivators of the Northern Heaven. Now that a great cultivator of the Northern Heaven had come to this place, a great calamity would surely befall them today. Perhaps none of the foreign races here would survive. Quick, inform the 3-star lords. It's urgent. It's really urgent. Countless cultivators of the foreign races panicked. Even true Lord Beihai was a little flustered. He hated Ningfan from the bottom of his heart. He wished he could cut Ning Fan into 1,000 pieces. However, none of his friends could kill Ning Fan. That incident had left a deep shadow in his heart. A trace of fear towards Ning Fan grew from the bottom of his heart. Even though he had Old Devil Dan nurturing pills help to fully heal his injuries, he still did not have the courage to fight Ning Fan. Even if he had a good friend like Old Devil Dan nurturing pill nearby who could help him, he still did not have the confidence to defeat Ning Fan. Not enough. Not enough. I need more fellow Taoists. I need more people to charge at him at the same time. Only then can I subdue him. Humph. I didn't expect you to chase after me all the way here and you still won't give up. You're really haunting me. Unfortunately, I still have important matters to attend to today. I don't have time to waste on you. If you continue to chase after me, this is my last warning to you. True Lord Bei Hai said the most cowardly words with the fiercest tone. How could he not be cowardly? Didn't he just want to say that he planned to run away and hope that Ning Fan would let him go and stop chasing after him? True Lord Bei Hai shook his body and turned into a ray of light rain. He immediately ran away as soon as Ning Fan arrived. He did not dare to stay any longer in this place. Seeing that, the cultivators of the foreign races looked at him with disdain. Didn't you just say that you want to annihilate the Feng Nu clan? You even said that I will stop your body and soul from being destroyed and you will never be able to reincarnate. Why did you run away without completing your task? You're really a disgrace to the quasi-saint realm, old monsters. Did I allow you to leave? Ning Fan's tone was cold and merciless. With a point of his finger, the 9 rain dragons below him appeared. In just an instant, they sealed off the entire Feng Nu clan. No one could enter or leave. True Lord Bei Hai naturally could not escape as well. He was both shocked and enraged. He was angry because Ning Fan was so persistent. He had just recuperated from his injuries and had yet to come up with the next round of revenge plan, but this bastard had already chased after him. He was really cruel and merciless. He did not give anyone a chance to live. He was shocked because the last time he saw Ning Fan, he did not have 9 rain dragons. Now, however, he had them. They were 9 rain dragons. It was a number that he could not achieve even when he was at his peak. But why can Ning Fan have them? Hateful. Hateful. This bastard must have snatched his rain dragons and devoured and refined them. That was how he managed to achieve such a number. Bastard, you killed my fellow Taoist, snatched my heaven-battling jade umbrella and devoured my rain dragons. I will never forgive you. True Lord Bei Hai was so angry that he almost lost his mind. Ning Fan, however, did not even look at him. After blocking all of True Lord Bei Hai's escape routes, he did not immediately pay attention to him. Instead, he descended to Ji Fuyao's side. As soon as he saw her eyes being destroyed, Ning Fan's eyes turned gloomy. He was displeased. It's my fault. I shouldn't have let you go first. I should have asked you to wait for me to come out of my seclusion so that we can kill this bastard together. This is the business of my Feng Nu clan. It has nothing to do with Senior and I won't be tainted by karma. Ji Fuyao's eyes were destroyed. Even though she could not see Ning Fan's arrival, she could feel his qi and hear his voice. At this moment, all the grievances and unfairness that she had been suppressing in her heart were vented out. She could not hold it in no matter how hard she tried. Ning Fan's appearance was like a straw in her despair. It gave her hope. However, there seemed to be a huge secret behind today's incident which was related to that True Lord Bei Hai. She was unwilling to let Ning Fan get involved in this matter. So, Senior, you better leave now. You mustn't get involved in today's incident. If I'm not wrong, not only the 3-star sovereigns of my clan are involved, but also the Devil Conferral Summit. I've already noticed that some pill refinement masters have devil seeds hidden in their bodies. Be quiet. I'll heal your injuries first. How can you lose your eyes? Without your eyes, you won't be able to see your revenge with your own eyes. Ning Fan's tone was calm. He was too lazy to listen to Ji Fuyao's secret. He did not care about the 3-star sovereigns or the Devil Conferral Summit. He was only interested in killing True Lord Bei Hai. In this matter, Ji Fuyao and the Feng Nu clan were on the same side. If someone wants to stop True Lord Bei Hai from being killed, not to mention the Feng Nu clan, he too would not like it. He raised his hand and summoned the 3 mulberry ancient tree. Under the treatment of the 3 mulberry ancient tree, Ji Fuyao's eyes immediately showed signs of being reconstructed. Ji Fuyao chuckled. Senior, even though my eyes have been destroyed, this isn't my physical body. It's just an artificial skeleton. If my demon soul leaves my body, I can still see what's happening in the outside world. Senior, I think you shouldn't waste your magic power to heal a mere artificial skeleton. While speaking, Ji Fuyao's palm-sized demon soul flew out of the artificial skeleton and sat on Ning Fan's shoulder. However, when he thought of the seriousness of today's matter, Ji Fuyao's expression turned gloomy again. He advised, Senior, you better leave now. I know you're not a member of the myriad of races. You're a cultivator of the northern heaven, which is incompatible with the myriad of races. Even if you don't interfere in this matter, the 3-star sovereigns will never let you go just because you showed up here. You're a great cultivator from the ancient times, and those few people are also great cultivators. How can you resist the joint attack of several cultivators at the same level as you alone? You shouldn't interfere in today's matter, all right? I really don't want to drag you into this. You're very long-winded. Ning Fan was a little annoyed by Ji Fuyao's words. With a flick of his finger, Ji Fuyao's demon soul fell from his shoulder. Then, he no longer paid attention to Ji Fuyao and kept the 3 mulberry ancient tree. On the other side, as soon as True Lord Bei Hai saw Ning Fan summoning the 3 mulberry ancient tree, his eyes turned bloodshot. The scenes of him interacting with Taoist Chong Sang in the past replayed in his mind. Everyone has a reverse scale that cannot be stepped on. Everyone has memories that cannot be erased. At this moment, True Lord Bei Hai no longer had the slightest fear towards Ning Fan. He could feel his blood that had cooled down for many years turning boiling hot and filling his entire chest. Ning Fan, you shouldn't have killed my fellow Taoist. You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. I can tolerate you hunting me down in every way you can. However, this hatred is the only thing I can't tolerate. My Tao might be as insignificant as grass in your eyes. However, even if I'm just a grass, my anger can also set a prairie ablaze. You can kill my body and destroy my Tao. However, the hatred in my heart won't be erased even if you overturn the heavens and the world. Rather than living with the sin of killing my fellow Taoist, I'd rather live beautifully until the last moment and fight you to the death. The more True Lord Bei Hai spoke, the more his true feelings were revealed. His words actually carried a kind of solemn and stirring feeling as if he was at the end of his road. All the foreign cultivators who heard his words were inexplicably touched. Some old monsters who knew the importance of the North Sea walked out from the dark. When they saw that True Lord Bei Hai wanted to fight against Zhao Jian, a great cultivator from the ancient era who was infamous for his ferocity with his mere second-tier nascent soul realm cultivation base, all of them were incomparably moved. Their blood that had been cold for many years also more or less felt the warmth that they had not felt for a long time. Strong or see? Cultivators of our generation should go against heaven and do things that go against heaven. Even if the enemy is as strong as heaven's might, we can't simply admit defeat or lower our heads. Even if Ho has 2 arms, he dares to cut the wheels of a carriage. We also have 2 arms. How can we not dare to fight against heaven? Fight, fight, fight. Countless foreign cultivators who were afraid of Ning Fan's ferocious reputation had their blood ignited at this moment. So what if he's an ancient great cultivator? This place is the territory of the myriad races in the border river. Since you dare to come here, you must pay the price. As for True Lord Bei Hai, it's even more impossible for you to kill him because he's the hope of all the descendants of Ziwei. Ha! What fellow Taoist said is exactly what I want. Today I will fight together with fellow Taoist. Let me experience the great techniques of Zhao Jian, an ancient great cultivator. The pill-nourishing old devil who was hiding in the dark was touched by True Lord Bei Hai's words. He walked out from the dark. Just as he was planning to fight alongside True Lord Bei Hai, he did not expect that just as he walked out of the dark, he felt a huge black shadow above his head. Rumble. A loud sound was heard. The pill-nourishing old devil who did not manage to show his face was already pressed under a towering Dao mountain. He was frightened out of his wits. Sage Dao Mountain. This is impossible. This is impossible. You are not a sage. How is it possible? He subdued the pill-nourishing old devil who was at the first-level quasi-sage realm with just a single move. He waved his hand again. The 9 dragons rampaged between heaven and earth, attacking True Lord Beihai from all directions. Pucci True Lord Beihai barely managed to block the attacks. However, he only managed to block 5 of the rain dragons. He was still hit by the remaining 4 dragons. He felt an indescribable pain in his internal organs. He had already suffered serious injuries. So strong. He is even stronger than last time. I thought Ji Fuyao was already long-winded enough. I didn't expect you to be even more long-winded. However, what you said is rather touching. I didn't expect you to have such a deep relationship with your fellow Taoist. In that case, you are indeed a righteous person. I have underestimated you in the past. Today, I will give you a quick death and end this karma. I will send you to your death. The pitiful True Lord Beihai had just recovered from his injuries, but he encountered Ning Fan in the blink of an eye. He did not last long in the hands of the 9 dragons and was severely injured. After all, even though his injuries had fully recovered, his abilities were not as powerful as before. The rain dragons that he relied on were all devoured by Ning Fan. Without the rain dragons, True Lord Beihai was like a tiger that had its teeth pulled out. The power of his rain technique was greatly reduced. Unfortunately, the rain technique that he had almost used up was heavily restrained by Ning Fan. As a result, the physical body of True Lord Beihai, who was praised as the North Sea by everyone, was destroyed by Ning Fan once again. His primordial spirit was captured. After capturing True Lord Beihai, Ning Fan did not choose to escape from the Feng Nu clan even though he had already sensed that there were many strong qi rushing towards this place. He was afraid that they would not come with good intentions. But so what? No matter who comes today, no one can stop his determination to refine and kill True Lord Beihai. True Lord Beihai said, "Why do you want to refine and kill me again? Didn't you say that you will give me a quick death? You lied. You lied." Ning Fan said, "Don't worry. It won't hurt. I never lie unless I have a reason to. As for you, I don't want to lie to you. If others refine and kill you, you will certainly suffer unspeakable pain. However, if I do it myself, you will only feel a moment of pain. I guarantee that it will be more comfortable than euthanasia." True Lord Beihai said, "No. Don't kill me. My life is tied to a great responsibility. If you kill me, the myriad clans in the World River will not forgive you. Even the Devil Conferral Summit. Even the secret races." Ning Fan used his ability to block True Lord Beihai's mouth. Then he took out the divine refining cauldron. He wanted to send True Lord Beihai off with this cauldron. "Ji Fuyao, I have something to ask you. You just said that you want to refine True Lord Beihai into a pill. Do you have any rules on what kind of pill I should refine?" Ning Fan asked. "While are fine." Ji Fuyao was still in a daze. He could not regain his senses for a long time. In just a short while, the first-level quasi-sage realm pill-nourishing old devil was captured by Ning Fan, while the second-level titled quasi-sage realm True Lord Beihai was subdued and thrown into the pill cauldron again. The situation changed a little too quickly. She could not even react in time. Senior is a little too strong. Oh, all right then. My cauldron is a little special. If I'm not careful, I might refine the materials into 10,000 spirits, into something special. If you don't specify what it should be, I will refine it as I wish. Oh no. I was distracted while talking to you. I didn't control the flame well and refined True Lord Beihai into a paste. Paste? All the foreign cultivators who heard his words were so frightened that they broke out in a cold sweat. Just imagining how True Lord Beihai would be refined into a paste made them shiver. Is this so-called ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, Really a kind and benevolent person for 10 generations like what the cultivators of the northern heaven said? Why does he look so scary? Some of you might want to ask, why don't you foreign cultivators run away when such a terrifying ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian, is here? Why do you still want to stay here and watch the show? Aren't you afraid of death? If someone really asks such a question, these foreign cultivators would certainly cry in grievance. Do you think we don't want to run? Didn't you see that the 9 rain dragons have sealed off the entire Feng Nu clan's heavenly Dao terrain? We also want to run away, but our strength doesn't allow us to. Chapter 1260. The fact that true sovereign North Sea was refined into a paste was probably not something that Ning Fan did intentionally. At this moment, he was indeed multitasking. No, to be precise, he was multitasking 3 times. No one knew that while he was refining the myriad spirit blood and conversing with Ji Fuyao, he was also secretly doing something else. His left hand was controlling the temperature of the flames in the cauldron while his right hand was hidden in his sleeve, secretly forming golden hand seals. As he changed his hand seals, rays of golden finger imprints quietly took shape. Then, they were concealed by Ning Fan's divine light and sent into the divine refining cauldron without a sound. They were also sent into the water and sky of the Feng Nu clan. That divine seal was the master recognition seal. Then, without a sound or a trace, the smelting divine cauldron recognized him as its master. The refining speed had increased slightly. After that, the Feng Nu tribe had successfully recognized him as its master. The Feng Nu tribe's protective array, Heavenly Abyss Divination Array, had successfully recognized him as its master. Ning Fan seemed to have become the true master of the Feng Nu clan. He became incomparably close to this place. The feeling of being intimately connected with heaven and earth was indescribable with words. It was as if Ning Fan's existence had directly integrated into the mountains and seas of this place. At this moment, the protective grand formation of the Feng Nu clan was not under anyone's control. Instead, it operated on its own. It gathered the spiritual qi of heaven and earth on its own and channeled it into the divine refining cauldron, as if it was helping Ning Fan concoct pills. At this moment, countless faint purple rays of light flew out from the plants, mountains, and seas. They looked like fireflies and starlight as they flowed in midair, converging into large patches of faint purple light rain. Gradually, even the bodies of the Feng women had flickering purple light flying out. Those purple lights flew into Ning Fan's body one after another as if they were summoned. After that, Ning Fan's magic power seemed to have been strengthened by a secret technique and suddenly improved. 18,500 tribulations. 19,000 tribulation. 19,500 tribulation. 20,000 tribulation. At this moment, Ning Fan's body was surrounded by purple fluorescent light. His magic power had increased to the level of 20,000 tribulation level, which was comparable to the power of a second-level quasi-saint. However, this improvement was not permanent. It was more like a blessing for the territory's lord. Once Ning Fan leaves the territory of the Feng Nu clan or removes the acknowledgement of the clan as its master, this blessing would disappear. Countless alien race cultivators were shocked beyond words. Could it be that the purple light surrounding Zhao Jian is the purple micro-doe light that has been passed down from generation to generation in the female race? Impossible. The Feng Nu tribe's purple micro-doe number had long been lost. How could he ever see the light of day again? Furthermore, this old devil Zhao Jian is a cultivator of the northern heaven. He isn't even a member of the Feng Nu clan. How could he obtain the support of the Feng Nu clan? What exactly happened? No one knew what had happened to Ning Fan. Even Ji Fuyao, who was standing beside Ning Fan, could not understand what was going on. What's going on? As the leader of the Feng Nu clan, I actually lost control of the clan land and the clan formation. This feeling, could it be that Senior Ning took away the clan's formation? How did he do it? It's unbelievable. The purple light that flew into Senior's body is indeed like the purple myrtle divination force that our clan has inherited. It's very similar to what Father said, very similar. Father once said that our clan's progenitor was bestowed with the blessing of Venerable Ziwei, and the entire clan is protected by the power of Ziwei Do. In the past, whenever a great enemy came to invade, the previous clan leaders would use the power of the clan. Unfortunately, the method of using the power of Do Shu has long been lost. Even my father doesn't know how to use it. But why would Senior Ning Fan looked at the purple starlight that surrounded his body and felt a little puzzled. He had just acknowledged the clan land and formation of the Feng Nu clan as its master. Why did countless starlight enter his body out of nowhere, and why did his cultivation base improve temporarily? He did not know. Ning Fan did not intend to find out the reason for the time being. What he was most interested in now was the matter of refining true sovereign North Sea. His hands that were hidden in his sleeves continued to form the master recognition seal. More and more objects were forcefully recognized by Ning Fan as their master. The terrain within 10,000 li had successfully recognized him as its master. The heavenly fate within 10,000 li had successfully recognized him as its master. At this moment, Ning Fan's affinity with heaven and earth deepened further. The great momentum of 10,000 li turned into golden mist and floated into the cauldron. The heavenly fate within 10,000 li turned into 9 colored rays of light and floated into the cauldron. The foreign cultivators at this place were shocked once again. The heavenly fate actually took the initiative to help old devil Zhao Jian concoct a pill. How is this possible? He isn't the master of heaven and earth. How could he do this? This person must have used some tricks, using 10,000 li to lock the shape of the pill and using 10,000 li of heavenly fate to change the pill's fate. It seems like this true sovereign North Sea is going to be refined into a pill. There is no possibility of failure unless someone stops him from the side. Why aren't the 3 Star Lords here yet? Someone, come and stop old devil Zhao Jian. The Tao Law of Time within 10,000 li successfully recognized him as its master. The Tao Law of Space within 10,000 li successfully recognized him as its master. When Ning Fan pointed at the divine refining cauldron, the flow of time inside the cauldron suddenly accelerated by 10,000 times. The flow of time outside the cauldron was still as normal as before. Even the supreme cultivators who studied this Tao might not be able to achieve such an exquisite control of time. However, Ning Fan did it with ease. Thus, the true sovereign North Sea that was already in a paste began to be refined at a speed that was 10,000 times faster than before, turning into a blood-red pill. It was the 10,000 spirit blood. Boundless baleful chi spread out from the cauldron. It was the baleful chi of a fallen second-level titled quasi-saint. Once it spreads out, it was enough to contaminate all the spirit veins of the Feng Nu clan. However, such a terrifying baleful chi was sealed back into the cauldron by Ning Fan with a single point of his finger. In the past, it was impossible for Ning Fan to seal such a large amount of baleful chi without dispersing. However, now that he had become the master of the space within 10,000 li, the space within this place would listen to his orders. If he is unwilling, the mere baleful chi would not be able to flow out from the space within the cauldron at all. Even though Ning Fan had sealed the baleful chi without dispersing, those with sharp senses could still sense what was happening inside the cauldron. It's fake. It's fake. What kind of demonic technique did this man use? He actually killed a second-level titled quasi-saint in such a short time. None of them would have thought that Ning Fan had a way to recognize the master of the time within 10,000 li. What was more surprising was that true sovereign North Sea, who had an exceedingly high cultivation base, did not last long in Ning Fan's hands and was refined into a cauldron of pills. However, in the northern border river, a dragon boat was quickly sailing towards the Feng Nu tribe in the endless distance of the border river. Inside the dragon boat, an elderly man who was dressed in the ancient Chu country's attire was sitting on his knees in front of a writing table. He was reading an old bamboo slip. The old man's eyes gave off a muddle-headed feeling, as if he had no interest in anything in the world. The only thing that could pique his interest was the ancient poems on the bamboo slips. Picking and rolling ears, not filling the basket. Sigh, I'm pregnant with a person. Sigh, I'm pregnant with a person. Sigh. adhering to the southern mountain, picking its willows with words. I have yet to see a gentleman, and my heart is filled with sorrow. Perhaps these verses had evoked the old man's melancholy. The old man sighed repeatedly and put down the bamboo slip, no longer looking at it. He got up and walked out of the cabin. Standing at the bow, he looked at the currents on both sides and seemed to be thinking of the past. The melancholy in his heart lessened a little, but it turned into a poetic mood. He felt that he would not be happy if he did not get it out. The old man sometimes thought hard, and sometimes he opened his mouth to speak. He repeated this over and over again, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't come up with even half a poem. After an unknown period of time, the old man suddenly had a flash of inspiration. There is a realm river in the north, and there is a god in the river. People say that this god is the River Earl. Let's use this as the title. With the title of the poem, the old man gazed at the surging realm river. His thoughts were unprecedentedly clear as he recited the poem. Swimming in the She-Nine rivers with a woman, rushing against the wind and stirring up waves. Riding on a water wheel, riding on a lotus lid, riding on 2 dragons. Ascending the Kunlun mountains, gazing around, my heart soaring and vast. When the sun is about to set, I forget to return, only the Pushi River fills my heart. Fish scale houses, She-Dragon Hall, Purple Shell Tower, She-Pearl Palace, what is the spirit in She-Water? Riding on a white turtle chasing after fish, I travel with a woman to the Zhu River's Zhu, the waves coming down. Fighting with a man in the east, sending off a beauty to the South Poo. Waves come to welcome me, fish scales come to give me. After reciting the poem, the old man heaved a long sigh of relief as if he had completed an extremely important task. Just as he was about to turn his head and reconsider the wording of this new poem, his gaze suddenly changed, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. His expression turned slightly dark. How could he still be in the mood to compose a poem? With a pinch of his fingers, he had already calculated the drastic change in the Feng Nu clan. What exactly is the background of that Zhao Jian? It hasn't even been 5 minutes and he has already killed the North Sea. If there were any foreign race cultivators here, they would definitely be able to recognize this old man as old ancestor Chu Ping, who was ranked 3rd among the 3 Star Lords. In a certain cave residence of the Water Clan in the North Boundary River. Inside the cave residence, a young girl who was as fat as a ball was eating like a tornado. The food that was piled up like a mountain in front of her was decreasing at an astonishing speed. The expression on the young girl's face was very stiff. That stiffness made it seem as if she did not have any emotions. Only when she was eating would her eyes reveal some emotions, allowing others to roughly judge whether she was already full or still hungry. Beside the young girl, a cuttlefish that was as large as a small mountain was saying something angrily. If Ning Fan was here, he would certainly recognize that this cuttlefish was Blood God Gung Wu. Who would have thought that Blood God Gung Wu, who had escaped with his life that day, would actually run all the way from the eastern heaven to the northern heaven? Who knew how he managed to escape to this place? Awesome! 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 Gung Wu said angrily. He did not know how to speak. The word, Nyo, used to be the only human language he knew. Now, it was the only language he knew. I know. You were bullied by that Nyo Manshan again, weren't you? You've already said it 800 times. The chubby young girl seemed to understand Gung Wu's language and replied disapprovingly. Ning. Seeing that the young girl was unmoved by his tragic experience, Gung Wu angrily said another word that he knew. I know. The one who bullied you this time is also someone called Ning Fan, right? You've said it more than me. You've already said it 900 times. Don't worry. If there's a chance to go to the Eastern Heaven in the future, I will definitely help you get revenge. After all, we're good friends who grew up eating together. Alright. Don't be angry. Come and eat more. You can only grow up by eating more. In the past, you weren't much younger than me. I'm talking about your body size. Look at you now. You've become so skinny. Any fish clan with a medium body size in the Boundary River is taller and stronger than you. And this is the result of me feeding you recently. You just eat too little. If you eat like me, would you still be afraid of that Nyo or Ning? While they were talking, a few fish demons suddenly rushed over and reported. Senior Great Kuan, something bad has happened. Something big has happened to the Feng Nu clan. Someone wants to refine and kill the Northern Heaven Rain Master. Shoo, don't be noisy. I'm busy teaching Gung Wu to eat more. But Lord, this matter is very important. No matter how important it is, it's not as important as eating. Do you know that in our Firefish clan, there's a maxim? Food is goodness. Eating one's fill is justice. Hunger is evil. Hunger is the original sin. This lowly one doesn't understand Lord's great principles. This lowly one only knows that the Northern Heaven Rain Master is very important. If you don't understand, then go to the side. You're disturbing my meal. The chubby girl was a little impatient. With a casual fling of her little hand, the few fish demons who came to report the news were thrown thousands of miles away. Then she said to Gung Wu, "All right, no one is disturbing us anymore. Let's continue eating, that's right. Gung Wu, let me ask you something. When I was talking just now, did I mention the Firefish clan? What's the Firefish clan? Why did I mention the Firefish clan? It's so strange. Forget it. In one's life, there will always be many strange things to do and many strange things to say. There's no need to look into them one by one. For example, when people are not full, they will kill each other. When they are full, they will quarrel again and again. Hey, little Gung Wu. Do you think that my words are very philosophical? That's because I'm a little full now. The chubby girl finally had her fill and a sweet smile appeared on her face. However, for some unknown reason, as soon as some feelings were born in her heart, they were wiped out by an invisible force. Then, she returned to her emotionless appearance. Her face was filled with confusion as if she had forgotten many things. Hey, little Gung Wu. I think I'm hungry again. The chubby girl was none other than the great Kuan of the Northern Sea who was ranked second among the 3-star lords. In a very short time, Ning Fan refined true Lord Northern Sea into a cauldron of 10,000 spirit blood. Sensing that true Lord Northern Sea had died, the pill cultivation realm old devil who was being suppressed under the Dao mountain of the Ant Lord was overcome with sorrow. He let out a miserable cry. It's so painful. The pill cultivation realm old devil burst into tears. Then, all of his sorrow and anger turned into a devil roar and vented out. Roared at it was the roar of a quasi-saint realm ancient devil. The power of a single roar was like a landslide. In an instant, the entire Feng Nu clan fell into an earthquake. The devil roar locked onto Ning Fan and all the members of the Feng Nu clan. Obviously, he wanted to kill them with his devil roar. However, Ning Fan did not allow the devil roar to spread out. He did not want it to hurt any of the members of the Feng Nu clan. However, Ning Fan lifted his finger and pointed at the pill cultivation realm old devil's devil roar. It was forcefully restrained and only echoed under the Dao mountain of the Ant Lord. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing that he was so weak that he could not even let out a devil roar, the pill cultivation realm old devil felt humiliated for the first time in his life. He clenched his teeth so hard that they almost broke. However, he could not get out of the Dao mountain of the Ant Lord and could not do anything to Ning Fan. Unlike the pill cultivation realm old devil who was grieving, the members of the Feng Nu clan felt extremely satisfied when they saw true Lord Northern Sea being killed. Each of them knelt on the ground and thanked Ning Fan profusely. Thank you, Senior, for helping us take revenge. Even Ji Fuyao knelt down and kowtowed to Ning Fan. His face was filled with tears. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and a rain intent lifted everyone up from the ground. He said, I didn't kill this man for your sake. It's for my own karma. Thus, you don't have to thank me. As for the item in the cauldron, I don't plan to give it to you. Ning Fan said to Ji Fuyao. The 10,000 spirit blood was related to an ancient divine spirit. Ning Fan would never give it to others. The pill in the cauldron naturally belongs to Senior. What I want is only the result of killing that old Lord Northern Sea. I would never dare to covet Senior's item. That's good. It's just that the pill in the cauldron is a little special. It's not convenient to give it to others. Besides, this item is indeed harmful to you. It's useless to you and might even attract trouble. However, I did borrow your clan's formation to concoct the pill. I should at least give you something to thank you. No. It's obviously us who should give you something to thank you. Ji Fuyao was shocked when she saw that Ning Fan actually wanted to give her something to thank him. Ning Fan had already made up his mind. Just as he was about to take something to give to the Feng New clan, he suddenly sensed something and his expression turned solemn. We'll talk about this later. Don't disturb me for now. Ji Fuyao's heart skipped a beat when she heard what Ning Fan said. How could she not know that something major had happened? Otherwise, why would Senior Ning show such an expression? Could it be that the 3 Star Lords have already arrived? Could it be that there is more than one of them? Could it be? For a moment, Ji Fuyao's mind was in a mess. As the leader of a clan, in addition to the special task of guarding the Ziwei North Palace, she had witnessed the strength of the 3 Star Lords a long time ago. Each of them was as strong as monsters. Even though Senior Ning was also as strong as a monster, what if the 3 Star Lords come at the same time? With Senior Ning's strength alone, how could he possibly contend with 3 monsters? He would definitely suffer a great loss. Father, Mother, please forgive me for being stubborn. I might do something that will bring shame to the Feng New clan today. If the 3 Star Lords really dare to bully Senior Ning with their numbers, I would rather detonate the token of the Immortal Sovereign to give Senior a chance to escape. Ji Fuyao held the token of Immortal Sovereign Zi Wei tightly with her small hand and waited as if she was facing a formidable enemy. She waited and waited, but the 3 Star Lords did not come at all. However, she did not know that the reason why Ning Fan's expression was solemn was not because of the 3 Star Lords but because something had happened to the 10,000 spirit blood. In the past, when Ning Fan concocted the 10,000 spirit blood, he would usually concoct hundreds or thousands of them in a single cauldron. Moreover, each of them was the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood. The medicinal power of the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood was comparable to the 9 Revolutions golden pill. However, the situation was a little different this time. It was still the same number of hundreds or thousands of them in a single cauldron. However, this time, Ning Fan clearly sensed that the low-grade 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron were devouring each other and fusing with each other. Why was it like this? Ning Fan also had no idea, but it did not stop him from guessing. Perhaps it was because the cultivation level of the materials were higher this time, or maybe it was because he had perfectly sealed the baleful qi when he was refining the cauldron, not letting the baleful qi of the second-level quasi-saint realm baleful qi dissipate at all. In short, the changes were really happening. As Ning Fan had accelerated the flow of time in the cauldron, the speed at which the 10,000 spirit blood devoured each other was shockingly fast. In just 2 breaths' time, the number of 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron had decreased to 300. After another 2 breaths' time, there were only 100 of them left. After that, there were 70, 50, 30, eventually, there were only 2 remaining droplets of 10,000 spirit blood in the cauldron. One of them was the Yin pill while the other was the Yang pill. Among them, the Yin pill's medicinal power was extremely strong. It was 10 times stronger than the Yang pill. Due to the severe imbalance in the ratio of Yin and Yang, the last 2 droplets of 10,000 spirit blood could not fuse perfectly no matter what. However, this was not a problem for Ning Fan. What he cultivated was Yin and Yang. What he was best at was harmonizing things that were difficult to fuse. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and slapped the divine refining cauldron. That slap might seem ordinary, but it dispersed the Yin and Yang qi contained in the Yin and Yang pills. When he activated his ability again, the Yin and Yang qi in the cauldron turned into small black and white fishes that swam in the cauldron. Among them, there were 10 black fishes while the white fish was Yang and there was only 1. Ning Fan changed his ability again. The 11 Yin and Yang fishes forcefully fused together, turning into a gourd-shaped Yin-Yang Taiji diagram. The head of the gourd was Yang. Even though it was weak, it occupied a higher position. It used its superior position to suppress the Yin Qi that was 10 times stronger and achieve a balance. At the moment when the balance was achieved, the last 2 droplets of 10,000 spirit blood finally fused into one. Rumbled. A force of impact spread out from the cauldron and lifted the lid off. After that, a blood-red pill that was the size of a Dao fruit flew out from the cauldron and hovered in midair. It smells so good. Everyone in this place could smell the pill fragrance that assaulted their nostrils. That pill fragrance was like the fragrance of agarwood and sandalwood at the same time. It was extremely unique. After just taking a whiff of it, everyone felt 100 times more spirited. Even their cultivation base improved a little. It was hard to imagine how miraculous it would be if they ate a mouthful of this pill. Rumble. Suddenly, they heard the sound of thunder. Everyone raised their heads and saw a tribulation cloud of 10 colors that they had never heard of before in the sky above the Feng Nu clan. What kind of tribulation cloud is this? Could it be that it's going to strike the pill lightning? While everyone was guessing, the pill lightning had already condensed within the tribulation cloud. The pill lightning had 10 different colors. The destructive power it carried was enough to turn a few immortal emperors into ashes. If they let the pill lightning strike without any resistance, everyone here except Ning Fan and the old devil who was trapped under the Dao mountain of the Ant Lord would be turned into ashes. What kind of pill lightning is this? Why is it so terrifying? This is bad. Let's leave now. We shouldn't stay here and get implicated. Cough. Old devil Zhao Jian has sealed the heaven and earth. We can't escape from here. Don't worry. The pill lightning will only appear to destroy the pill. That old devil Zhao Jian has spent a lot of effort to concoct this pill. How can he bear to destroy the pill? He will certainly try his best to resist the pill lightning. Even if old devil Zhao is standing in front of us, we still need to be extremely careful. We must not get hit by the residual waves of the pill lightning. While the foreign cultivators were feeling nervous, they suddenly saw Ning Fan summoning a lightning diagram. Then, a baby and a sparrow flew out from the diagram. They were the Dao Destruction Lightning Infant and the Ancestral Lightning Sparrow. This is great. Master has found us another delicacy. The baby and the sparrow were overjoyed. They rushed towards the pill lightning and finished it in just a few bites. Ning Fan kept the lightning diagram and waved his hand. The pill flew into his palm in a whirling motion. As it had just been taken out of the furnace, the pill was still boiling hot. Fortunately, it was not worth mentioning to Ning Fan. So this is the mid-grade 10,000 spirit blood. What a strong medicinal power. This medicinal power is almost at the level of a 10th revolution pill. Unfortunately, it is still a lot weaker than a real 10th revolution pill. Is it because the ratio of the yin and yang pills is seriously out of balance? Even though the yin and yang pills have merged after my mediation, it is still not perfect. There is actually the chi of the title on this pill. The title of rain, If I consume this 10,000 spirit blood, I'm afraid I can directly cultivate the complete title of rain. Ning Fan was a little happy. True Sovereign North Sea actually managed to refine the mid-grade 10,000 spirit blood just by casually refining it. His luck is really not bad. Unfortunately, before Ning Fan could feel happy for a while, a voice resounded from a distance of 1 million li. Fellow Taoist, can you let me have a look at the pill in your hand? Old Ancestor Chu Ping was riding a dragon boat towards them. He was still quite a distance away from the Feng Nu clan. That was why he transmitted his voice to them. No. Ning Fan said indifferently. If that's the case, I'm sorry to offend you. Old Ancestor Chu Ping sighed softly. Almost as soon as his voice fell, Ning Fan felt an endless river that traveled across 1 million li and drowned them. It was a river formed by Dao sense. Although it was not visible to the naked eye, it contained the Dao that old Ancestor Chu Ping had cultivated throughout his life. This is the first level of my Dao sense. Its name is Miluo. Chapter 1261. Battles between Dao insights were usually decided in an instant, but this instant was actually only the perception of outsiders. For the people involved, a battle of Dao might even last for thousands of years, like a dream, but a dream of 100 years was actually just a short dream. However, a battle of Dao will was different from a dream. The danger of a battle of Dao insights was even greater than a real battle. The slightest mistake would result in one's Dao collapsing and one's death. Even one's primordial spirit would not be able to escape. At the moment when he was struck by old ancestor Chu Ping's Dao sense, a trace of Ning Fan's mind was pulled. He could vaguely feel that it was about to leave his body and was being pulled towards the direction of old ancestor Chu Ping's mental world. Do not fight against this person's Dao will. The Ant Lord warned. With Ning Fan's strength, if he resists this, he would definitely be able to stop his spirit sense from leaving his body and avoid this battle. However, if he accepts the battle of Dao sense, it would be hard to tell whether he would survive or not. The Ant Lord's life was linked to Ning Fan's. Of course, he was unwilling to let Ning Fan take this risk for no reason. He thought to himself, "You have a bunch of trump cards on you, including the puppet of the great cultivators, the virtuous umbrella, and the newly comprehended master recognition technique. Even if you are surrounded by many ancient great cultivators, you can still protect yourself. At worst, you will be beaten and flee, but the possibility of losing your life is very small." Why did he have to fight a Dao will battle with others? Wasn't it better to fight with real swords and guns? Sorry, I don't intend to reject this battle. Ning Fan shook his head. Others might choose to refuse this Dao will battle, but he didn't intend to do so. That was because his Dao was stubborn to begin with. He had always fought with toughness to begin with. Throughout his path of cultivation until now, he'd encountered people he couldn't defeat, and he'd fled and hid from them. However, his Dao heart had never had the thought of admitting defeat, nor had he submitted, nor had he ever lowered his head. Dao enforcers could lose, they could retreat, but they could never cower. If he chose to show weakness at this moment and chose to avoid the battle of Dao insights, then a crack would appear in his Dao heart. This crack wasn't impossible to repair, but it would be extremely difficult to repair. Moreover, in this way, his momentum would fall into a disadvantageous position from the very beginning, and he would end up cowering before the battle even started. Perhaps all of this was the true motive behind old ancestor Chu Ping's Dao perception inviting him to battle. He wanted to give Ning Fan a show of strength before the real battle started, to gain the upper hand with a show of strength. No matter what your objective in starting the Dao battle is, I won't avoid this battle. Ning Fan did not restrain his state of mind. Instead, he sneered and released all of his state of mind, completely invading old ancestor Chu Ping's inner world. After Patriarch Chu Ping sent out the invitation for the Battle of Dao Will, he stopped the dragon boat 1,000,000 miles away from Feng Nu Clan. With a solemn expression, he observed everything that happened in Feng Nu Clan and did not move forward. Unbelievable! This Zhao Jian actually has a way to recognize the Feng Lady race's territory and clan formation. He has also used the Feng Lady race's purple micro-dipper power to strengthen himself. It's not just the power of the amethyst Do divination. For some reason, the terrain and the heavenly fate of this place are also under his control. Even time and space are showing signs of being under his control. No wonder he was able to kill true monarch Beihai in such a short period of time. To be able to control time, space, geography, and the heavenly fate was already enough to be ranked at the peak of the illusionary world. However, this person was able to control 4 of them. According to common sense, only saints are usually able to do this. Could this young man be a saint? If he isn't a saint, how could he do this? How could he control a saint's Dao mountain at will to suppress others? If he is a saint, why does he only have the magic power of 20,000 tribulations? 2,000 of the tribulations are not even his own. Besides, I don't know why, but I can sense several dangerous chi from his body. Any one of them is enough to threaten me. However, he still has a few of these trump cards. This person seems to have many secrets. It's not wise to start a battle with him without knowing his background. Let's use the Battle of Dao Will to probe his background. If he doesn't dare to accept the battle, I can weaken his aura. If he accepts the battle, I will still have an advantage in this Battle of Dao Will while he is the guest. It won't be difficult for me to probe his background with this advantage. In just an instant, old ancestor Chu Ping had analyzed the pros and cons of the battle. Just as he was waiting for Ning Fan's response, He was startled when he saw Ning Fan suddenly sending all of his state of mind towards him. I only invited a trace of your state of mind to accept the battle, but you actually sent all of your state of mind. Are you planning to turn the tables? Old Ancestor Chu Ping was a little surprised. Indeed, Ning Fan said with a smile. His face did not show the slightest hint of fear in the battle of Dao Will. It's really a miscalculation. I have never thought that the Dao Will perfected sovereign whose name shakes the entire northern heaven is actually a devil cultivator. Old Ancestor Chu Ping said with a bitter smile. Why did he say that? Most of the cultivators would adopt a cautious attitude when faced with unknown risks. They would either choose to retreat for a while or choose to be steady and prudent. Very few of them would choose to take the risk and fight with their lives. Only a true devil lord would make such a choice. Only a person with such a personality would have the ability to overcome the various inner devils on the path of the devil and eventually cultivate the devil path to the peak. Before coming here, old Ancestor Chu Ping had already calculated with his fingers. He had predicted that Ning Fan's good reputation in the northern heaven had spread far and wide. He was the famous perfected sovereign of Dao Will and the role model of all cultivators. That was also the reason why he had the wrong impression about Ning Fan. What he did not know was that it was just a facade on the surface. It was just a rumor spread by word of mouth among the cultivators of the northern heaven. He did not have the slightest understanding of Ning Fan's true nature and essence. No matter how hard he tried, he could not predict it. Therefore, old Ancestor Chu Ping had never thought that Ning Fan might be a devil lord from the very beginning. In the end, he made a mistake in the first round of the battle. I was careless and this person actually turned the tables on me. In this case, how this battle of Dao will unfold is no longer under my control. Ning Fan walked in the vast expanse of white heaven and earth in a daze. He could not see the path ahead nor the path back. He did not remember that he was in the middle of a battle of Dao Will. After all, he was fighting against an ancient great cultivator. Moreover, his opponent was also in a daze at this moment. There was no reason for Ning Fan to be the only one who could remain clear-headed. His opponent was certainly not a weakling. His cultivation base was already above Ning Fan's. Besides, this was a battle that he had issued to Ning Fan and the place of battle was his opponent's mental world. From the very beginning, his opponent had the advantage of the right time, the right place, and the right people. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was in an absolutely disadvantageous position right from the beginning. Fortunately, Ning Fan took the risk and released all of his spirit sense unexpectedly, completely invading old Ancestor Chu Ping's mental world. Due to a moment of carelessness, Ning Fan allowed old Ancestor Chu Ping to invade half of his mental world on the spot. As such, Ning Fan had forcefully seized the advantage of the right time and the right place. However, he was still slightly inferior to his opponent in terms of the right people. After all, his opponent was a genuine great cultivator. As for Ning Fan, putting aside his magic power, he was still inferior to his opponent even after receiving the support of the Z-Wei Do number. The biggest difference was still Ning Fan's true cultivation base. Even though Ning Fan had assimilated his ancient divine, ancient demon and ancient devil cultivation base into his divine spirit cultivation base, he still did not break through to the immortal emperor realm or quasi-saint realm on the spot. In terms of cultivation base alone, he was still an immortal king. In order to break through to the immortal emperor realm or quasi-saint realm, he obviously still needed a lot of insights and a long period of cultivation. Overall, after Ning Fan's reversal, this battle of Dao Will was considered to be in a relatively fair state. Who am I? I must remember this matter. That's right. I am Ning Fan. I also seem to be called Zhao Jian. Or maybe I am Liu Bei, Zhou Ming or something else. I seem to be doing something extremely dangerous. However, I really can't remember what it is exactly. Ning Fan was really impressive. In just a short period of time, he had roughly remembered who he was. One must know that at this moment, old Ancestor Chu Ping had yet to remember who he was from the Battle of Dao Will. He was still lost in the boundless white world. Perhaps, The reason why he could remember him so quickly was related to the fact that he had recklessly acknowledged him as his master. When Ning Fan remembered who he was, he gradually saw the surrounding scenery clearly. What entered his eyes was a surging river. At this moment, he was rowing a boat on the river. The person rowing the boat was an old man with a white beard. His face was wearing a harmless chrysanthemum smile. No matter how Ning Fan looked at him, he found this old man familiar. However, he just could not remember who he was. "May I ask who you are and where is this place?" Ning Fan asked. As soon as he spoke, he realized that his voice was actually that of a child. Strange. My bone age is already several 100,000 years old. Why did I suddenly turn into a dying child? Speaking of which, what exactly is the dangerous thing that I am about to do? I just feel that I have to remember this as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will lose the initiative. While Ning Fan was muttering to himself, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. He had just received a violent blow and a huge bump appeared on his head. "Brat Ning Fan, you really have no manners. Who are you calling old man?" It was the old man rowing the boat who gave Ning Fan a violent blow. Ning Fan tried to explain himself. In the end, he received another violent blow and 2 bumps appeared on his head. "Don't talk back to me. I know that you have studied for a few years and you are used to talking nonsense with me. Unfortunately, it's useless. I won't give you the chance to speak. Don't even think about talking about the great principles of a master being kind and a son being filial to me. I don't understand the great principles. The heavens and the earth are vast, but my fist is the strongest." "I'm not." Banged out a 3rd bump appeared on Ning Fan's head. He finally learned to shut his mouth obediently. Since he couldn't figure out the situation now, it was better to wait and see. Seeing that Ning Fan no longer spoke, the old man nodded with satisfaction. "You are worth teaching." Then, the old man rowed the boat to the center of the river and let the boat drift with the current. He took out 2 fishing rods, one for himself and the other for Ning Fan. "Why are you giving me this?" Ning Fan wanted to ask but didn't in the end, because he saw the old man raising his fist as if he didn't like him talking. Thus, he didn't say anything in the end and only glanced at the fishing rod. "I'm giving you a fishing rod, of course, to let you fish." "So stupid. Are you people from Wuyu all so stupid? Our Chu people are still smarter." The old man suddenly had a sense of superiority in terms of intelligence. His face once again bloomed with a wretched chrysanthemum smile. "So I am from Wuyu and this old man is from Chu," Ning Fan thought. Looking at the fishing rod in his hand, Ning Fan was suddenly speechless. This fishing rod doesn't have a fish hook. Even if he had to suffer another punch, Ning Fan still had to speak his mind. The strange thing was that after Ning Fan asked this question, the old man didn't give him another back. Instead, he was also stunned and looked at the fishing rod in his hand with a puzzled expression. "There really isn't a fishing rod. Could it be that my cultivation has already reached this stage and I have already touched the threshold of Tao since entering the inverse state?" The old man muttered to himself. When he thought that he was about to enter the inverse state, the old man smiled even more happily. Even looking at Ning Fan, the person in his dream, he felt especially close. At this moment, Ning Fan suddenly entered the cabin and found a few fishing hooks. "Old man, there are fishing hooks in the cabin." Damn it. I knew that entering the inverse state of Tao sense wasn't that simple. Sure enough, I'm still far from it. The old man's mood instantly turned bad. Even his eyes were blinking when he looked at Ning Fan. He took the fishing hooks from Ning Fan's hand and gave Ning Fan 2 more hits. "Why 2 hits? Didn't I just say 1 hit? I only said 1 sentence when I gave you the fishing hooks." Ning Fan cursed inwardly. "There was 1 hit just now because I was in a good mood. Now I've made up for it," the old man said angrily. Ning Fan was speechless. Who exactly is this old man? Not only does he have a weird temper, but he is also very stingy and has a wretched appearance. The most hateful thing is that he actually repaid my kindness with enmity. I gave him the fishing hooks out of kindness, but he actually hit me with his fists. But it's really strange. I vaguely remember my name. I also vaguely remember my personality. I'm definitely not someone who would be bullied by others. Why didn't I get angry after being punched 4 times by this old man? That's right. Ning Fan did not get angry after being punched 4 times by the old man. Instead, he felt very close to him as if he had not seen this old man for many years. Speaking of which, this old man addressed himself as master. Could it be that we are master and disciple? Could it be that I've really acknowledged such an evil master? Thinking in this direction, Ning Fan vaguely felt that he could remember more things. He always felt that he had been strangled by this old man before and asked if he wanted to live or die. That's right. That's exactly what he wanted to remember. Soon. I'm about to remember who I am. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Ning Fan vaguely grasped the clue of his memories. He could not help but blurt out a sentence. It was a sentence that even he could not understand. Master, I wonder if Master's wife has recovered? Who's Master's wife? Why did I ask this question? Little Ning, this is a very good question. No one knew which part of the old man's nerves had been triggered. Instantly, he became furious and glared at Ning Fan. Then he gave Ning Fan a 5th smack on the head. You know that I'm an old widower on the Mi Luo River. I started ferrying people here when I was 17 years old. Now that I'm over 60 years old, no woman has ever taken a fancy to me and married me. You just had to ask this question. Very good. Very good. You've even learned to rub salt on the wound. You're not bad. Bang. It was the 6th time. In other words, Master, you've been single for 43 years? Ning Fan was slightly surprised. 60 years old, minus 17, wouldn't it be 43 years? He always felt that he was very sensitive to the number 43, but he did not know why. You still dare to say that? Ayaya, this old man has underestimated you in the past. I didn't know that you're a man who is not afraid of iron fists. Bang. The 7th time. Are you sure it's 43 years? Ning Fan was really concerned about 43 years. He would rather get punched to ask. This time, it was the old man's turn to feel horrified. Even though he was currently comprehending the Tao in his dream, each of his punches and kicks carried true injuries of Tao laws. In other words, his punches could really hurt others through endless dreams. What was the background of this kid called Ning Fan? After suffering 7 punches from his dream, he still dared to challenge him. Needless to say, he really liked this kid's stubborn temper. I like it. Good question. If you ask a few more times, this old man will tell you whether it's 43 years or not. Bang! The 8th time, the 9th time, the 10th time. This old man had hit Ning Fan 43 times in one breath. Aren't you very interested in 43 years? Come, I'll let you forever remember the feeling of having 43 bumps on your head. Ning Fan was convinced and looked at the old man with a look that said, this old man is probably a madman. The old man saw that Ning Fan didn't make a sound after suffering 43 punches in a row. He was shocked and looked at Ning Fan with a look that said, this kid is a good seedling that can be cultivated. Can I speak now? Ning Fan asked. He was no longer afraid of being beaten. Because after suffering 43 punches, he could see that the old man cherished his talent and didn't have the heart to bully him anymore. You can, but I suggest you not to speak too much. This is for your own good. The old man explained. Why is that? I thought you are a resident of this place, but it turns out that you aren't. I only realized this after I punched you 29 times. Then why did you still give me 43 punches? Idiot, this is this old man's test for you. You suffered 43 punches in a row and still didn't change your expression. You didn't feel any pain or itch. You have already obtained my approval. This old man thought that you were a passerby in my dream, but now, I really have the intention to take you as my disciple. Do you know who I am? I am the new saint of the true world, the sect master of the Yin and Yang sect, Han. Forget it. You don't need to know my name. You just need to know that my surname is Han. Oh, Ning Fan said expressionlessly. That's it. Old man Han seemed to be very displeased with Ning Fan's reaction. Could it be that this kid doesn't know what it means to be a saint of the true world? Could it be that this kid came from some remote illusory world where even birds don't shit? Or maybe this kid is just an ordinary mortal who entered his dream by chance but doesn't know what kind of good fortune it is to be sincerely taken as a disciple by a saint. You don't want to be my disciple? Old Man Han subconsciously thought that Ning Fan's indifference was a tactful rejection. Under normal circumstances, if a saint shows interest in taking you as a disciple, shouldn't you bow to him and show a surprised smile? Why is this kid not surprised at all? Does he really not know how powerful a saint is? So what if I don't want to? Aren't I your disciple in the first place? Ning Fan said with a smile. You're right. In my dream, you're playing the role of the apprentice that I adopted when I was experiencing the life of a boatman. Naturally, you're also considered as my disciple. It seems like I was too naive. Old Man Han sighed as if he was sighing at Ning Fan's stupidity. He actually could not tell the difference between a dream and reality. How could the master-disciple relationship in a dream be taken seriously? Once he wakes up from the dream, he would have to return to his original path. What a silly kid. He actually missed the great opportunity to become a disciple of a saint just like that. Just when Old Man Han was sighing at Ning Fan's stupidity, he suddenly heard the sound of water breaking. It was Ning Fan who had caught a fish. Kid, you're not bad. You've already caught a carp in just a short while. This fish isn't simple at all. It seems to have a trace of the Dao carp clan's bloodline. Unfortunately, it has been too many generations and the bloodline has already faded away. However, this also shows that you're quite lucky. You actually managed to catch a Dao carp. You're indeed worthy of being the disciple that I once fancied and almost accepted as my disciple. Old Man Han gave Ning Fan a thumbs up. What he was really thinking was this kid actually caught such a huge fish. If I don't catch an even bigger one, wouldn't I lose to him? Thus, Old Man Han, who was known as a dignified saint, finally entered his fishing mode seriously. At this moment, Old Man Han's eyes were as bright as the starry sky. The starry sky in his eyes was moving along the unique path of samsara. It was indescribably magical. His eyes seemed to be able to see through all samsara and karma. He seemed to be able to see through how many fish, prawns, toads, and mud were in the Mi Luo River. He gently waved the fishing rod as if he was not waving the fishing rod but the entire samsara time and space. He captured the karma lines of every fish in this place and predicted the life and death of all the fish. Most of the fish that were about to die were the fish that were about to be caught by someone. This kind of fish was the easiest to be hooked and also the easiest to be caught. Why is there another sound of water coming out? Master, I've caught the second fish. Ning Fan caught another fish. It was a Dao carp that was fatter and bigger than the previous one. Not bad, not bad. Continue to work hard and catch a few more. Then, you'll be able to catch up to my galloping horse. Old Man Han was praising Ning Fan's amazing fishing technique on the surface, but he was secretly cursing in his heart. This kid must have stepped on dog shit, right? It's just a lucky guess. Don't mind him, and so on. Not long after that, Ning Fan caught the third fish. The fourth. The fifth. The sixth. He caught 43 Dao carps in one go. You're promising. Good. Not bad, not bad. Keep up the good work. Old Man Han was already extremely jealous of Ning Fan's fishing technique. On the surface, he still had to praise Ning Fan in a serious manner to show that he was magnanimous. How motherfucking annoying. I, on the other hand, can't even catch a single fish even after trying my best. Could it be that these Dao carps sensed my Saint Chi and did not dare to come close to me? Yes, that must be it. These foolish fishes really have a good eye. If they have a better eye and know how many fish they can catch to make me happy, it would be even better if they don't let that brat beside me take another fish. After Old Man Han comforted himself, his mood became much better. When he saw that Ning Fan did not catch any more fish after catching 43 fish, he could not help but feel even happier. This brat really made a wild guess when he caught all the fish before this. Look, I can't catch the 44th fish now, can I? Humans can be lucky for a moment but not for a lifetime. When things come to a critical juncture, it really depends on one's own strength. Old Man Han, who was in a good mood, even took the initiative to pat Ning Fan's shoulder and comforted him with sincere words. Little Ning, don't be discouraged. For us devil cultivators, the most important thing is the state of mind. To be able to rise and fall, to be noble and humble, to be flexible and to have or not to have, is the true devil cultivator. Fishing is fun for a moment and it will always be fun for a long time. However, what if one day you can no longer catch any more fish? That will be the moment when you suffer the greatest blow, and it is also the key to cultivating the devil path. If you can't catch the 44th fish, I will definitely not look down on you. However, if you look down on yourself, then you will no longer be able to cultivate the devil path. Thank you for your advice, Master. After Ning Fan thanked Old Man Han, he pulled the fishing rod and instantly caught the 44th fish. After that, he released the fish back into the river. Actually, I can catch more fish. It's just that I have been thinking about the true meaning of 43 in my heart, and I am not willing to catch more fish. I will roast them. Old Man Han really wanted to curse out loud. I have seen people who act cool, but I have never seen someone who is so good at acting. So, the reason why you catch 43 fish is because you only want to catch 43 fish and I catch 0 fish is because I only have the ability to catch 0 fish. Even if you are not willing to catch more fish, you will still be able to catch the 44th fish and you will never be able to return to the mental state of 43. Look at that fish. After it bit your hook, there is a wound on its lips. Even if you release it back into the river, the wound will not be erased and the karma will not disappear. Master, you are wrong. Look at that fish carefully. There is no wound on its mouth because I have already straightened the hook. You mean you have been fishing with a straight hook? Yes. Have you used bait? No. You can catch as many fish as you want just like that? Yes. Kid, you are really a genius in the art of fishing. Old Man Han was dealt a heavy blow. For the first time in his life, he doubted whether he was a fool or not. However, magic techniques are just a minor Tao. You must not be too obsessed with it. Remember, the most important thing is not the number of fish you catch but the mental state you have when fishing. Look at me, have I ever caught a single fish? Do you know that if I wanted to, the 18,000 fish in the Mi Luo River would all be hooked by me? But so what? Even if I can catch all the carps in this river, how can I catch all the fish in the world? I can't catch all the living beings in the world. A human's strength is limited but the cycle of samsara is endless. That is why I am trying to comprehend the cycle of samsara and improve my Tao sense by fishing and ferrying here. Do you understand now? Old Man Han said in an unfathomable tone. Oh. What he got was still a nonchalant answer. Obviously, Ning Fan did not take Old Man Han's boasting seriously. Obviously, he really understood Old Man Han's temperament. He knew that this foolish old man only knew how to kill and rob people and nothing else. When he concocts pills, his cauldron explodes. When he fishes, he returns empty-handed. This is the true nature of my master. Strange. Why do I know this person's temperament so well? Speaking of which, the reason why I can catch so many fish is because I have some kind of strange comprehension towards the fish in the river. Today, people fish, but in the future, the heavens fish me. Not only that. Just now, Master said that there are a total of 18,000 fish in this river. I also feel a little curious about this number. While Ning Fan was pondering, a flying dragon suddenly flew towards him from afar. The strange thing was that it seemed like only Ning Fan could see the arrival of the flying dragon. There were also many people of Chu country around this Mi Luo River. However, these people seemed to be unable to see the flying dragon. None of them heard the majestic aura of the flying dragon. Did this flying dragon use some kind of ability to cover its tracks? Ning Fan thought to himself. The closer the flying dragon got, the more Ning Fan felt that the chi of this dragon had a soul-stirring feeling. It was very strong. Terrifyingly strong. This feeling was definitely not from the second step. This was a flying dragon that was comparable to a Saint Realm flying dragon. However, Ning Fan did not know which stage of the Saint Realm it was at. Brat, why do you have the luck of my clan? The flying dragon hovered above the Mi Luo River and asked angrily. When it saw Ning Fan catching 43 Dao carps from the river, it became even angrier. How dare you fish for my Dao Carp clan? Apparently, this flying dragon was a product of the Dao Carp clan after the carps leaped through the dragon gate. It was really a Saint Realm flying dragon. Moreover, the purpose of its arrival was to obtain the luck of the Dao Carp clan. I remember something now. I seem to have killed some experts of the Dao Carp clan for some reason and used some methods to snatch the luck of 1,500 colored beasts from them. This is going to be troublesome. The Saint Realm expert of the Dao Carp clan has come to seek revenge. What should I do? Ning Fan finally felt a little nervous. Old Man Han, who was standing at the side, saw all of his nervous expressions. Immediately, his heart bloomed with joy. I thought you don't know fear. Why are you afraid just because you met an enemy of the incipient Saint Realm in your dream? If that's really the case, there are still many things that you need to be afraid of in the future. As long as this incipient Saint Realm expert marks your dream and comes to you frequently in the future, I'm afraid you won't even dare to sleep anymore. I've finally found a place that is stronger than you. Strange. Why doesn't this kid have any trace of a dream realm on him? Could it be that he doesn't have the ability to dream? Or did some supreme existence seal his ability to dream? I don't think so. Those supreme existences are so bored that they would seal the dream realm of a junior? Sure enough, it's because of this kid. Or perhaps, he came to my dream realm by chance and didn't rely on the Dao path of dreams. Instead, he used a method similar to Dao Sense Battle or Soul Battle. That's why he doesn't have any trace of a dream realm? Just as Old Man Han was puzzled, he saw the flying dragon suddenly making its move. It seemed like it wanted to kill Ning Fan on the spot. The dragon spat out a blue dragon pearl from its mouth. All of a sudden, the water element magic power of heaven and earth gathered in the dragon's mouth and formed a great circle of reincarnation. That great circle became more and more solid. In an instant, it turned into a Dao light ball. That light ball contained unimaginable power. Once it hits them, almost no other cultivators would be able to survive, except for experts like Ancient Chaos and Mo Zhong who had a higher cultivation level than them. This is bad. It seems like I can only block this attack with the Virtuous Umbrella. I finally remembered the Virtuous Umbrella, but I still can't remember anything more. Just as Ning Fan was about to take out the Virtuous Umbrella to fight against the enemy, Old Man Han, who was at the side, acted first. At this moment, Old Man Han's expression was terrifyingly cold. Even though he was happy to see Ning Fan suffer a setback, it was one thing to suffer a setback and another to lose his life. He was a true sage. He could use his Dao Light True Injury to kill people across dreamlands. The flying dragon sage in the sky was probably also proficient in this Dao. If this attack really hits Ning Fan would probably die without a doubt. Even though he did not know what kind of relationship Ning Fan had with the Dao Carp clan, he was still his unmarried disciple after all. Ning Fan was a disciple that he had taken a liking to and had almost accepted as his disciple. A mere primordial saint of the Dao Carp clan actually dared to attack his disciple. Very good. Dao Carp little thief, you seem to be very confident in your water element Dao light. How about I destroy you with fire? Old Man Han sneered. He opened his mouth and spat out a ray of flame. That flame was as cold as ice at first. Then, it turned into balls of purple-golden flames. Eventually, all the purple-golden flames turned into black flames. This is the 3-lifetime fire essence technique. As Old Man Han spoke coldly, his black flames soared into the sky. His killing intent was locked onto Fei Long. Fei Long was stunned. Then, he snorted disdainfully. I was wondering who you were. So you're the newly promoted merit saint of the Yin and Yang sect. How foolish, how arrogant. How dare you use fire element Dao light to fight my Dao Carp clan's water? You're really reckless. Fei Long's face was filled with contempt. He spat out the blue light ball of Dao light from his mouth. The light ball suddenly exploded and turned into 100,000 rivers. They swore to drown everything in front of them. However, it was a pity that before the rivers could drown anyone, They were burned into steam by Old Man Han's black flames. Then they were burned to nothing. Impossible. Water restrains fire. My Tao restrains you. Moreover, my cultivation is higher than yours. Moreover, I achieved Tao by killing corpses. My status is higher than yours. How could it be like this? Fei Long's expression changed drastically. Do you know that my disciple only caught 43 fish because he only wanted to catch this number? Do you know that this old man achieved merit saint because he only wanted to become a saint like this? Who told you that a merit saint is weaker than a corpse slayer saint? I don't believe it. Who told you that fire can't overcome water? I don't believe it. I don't trust anyone. The only thing I trust is my heart. After all, this is a world that exists as long as you believe in it. Old Man Han laughed coldly and soared into the air, chasing after the flying dragon. Raising his hand, Zhang Xian made a grabbing motion, and the black flames in the sky morphed into a gigantic black cauldron, which smashed toward the flying dragon. Boom! The black cauldron struck the flying dragon's skull. One of the dragon's horns was smashed off on the spot. As it spat out blood, it fell from the sky. When he finally stabilized his falling momentum with great difficulty, Fei Long noticed to his astonishment that his cultivation had actually been sealed for a few eras of reincarnation after merely being struck by the flaming cauldron once. What sorcery was this? How could it be so powerful? How many epochs did he have? If he was hit a few more times, wouldn't he be gravely injured? That thief was too strong. The wind was tight. Pumph. I have matters to attend to today, so I won't bother with you. Goodbye. Bullshit. Who do you think you are to argue with me? You still want to escape? Did I allow you to escape? Boom boom boom. Old Man Han chased after it and smashed several cauldrons in a row, smashing the flying dragon until it fled from his dream in a panic. Only then did he return to the ship while cursing and swearing. When Old Man Han saw Ning Fan looking at him with a face full of shock, he immediately felt like acting cool. He kept his fire cauldron and said indifferently with his hands clasped behind his back. It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. You haven't seen anything bigger, so don't be too surprised. Master, does Mistress know that you are so powerful? Ning Fan asked in astonishment. Good lad. How dare you mention this again? Old Man Han's nerves were triggered once again. He was so angry that he raised his hand and gave Ning Fan another knock on the head. Then, with a tone of, I couldn't hold it in, I really couldn't hold it in. Sorry. If you don't like it, you can fight back. Hee, Ning Fan giggled foolishly. He felt that it had been many years since he had seen his master. Occasionally getting beaten up like this was quite nostalgic. Forget it. I won't hit you anymore. You've become stupid. By the way, how did you offend the Dao Carp clan saint? He said that you seized the destiny of the Dao Carp race. Could it be true? Aren't you afraid of being condemned by the 10,000 clans of the mountain and sea realm? I don't remember anything. Ning Fan said helplessly. Then what else do you remember? I vaguely remember that I came here to do something very important. Something very important? What exactly is it? Maybe I can remember some clues. Old Man Han frowned. He could also vaguely see that Ning Fan was having a battle of Dao sense with someone. That was why he accidentally entered his dreamland. It was not strange in itself for this young man to be able to enter his dreamland. His dreamland did not have a password. Who wouldn't be able to enter whenever they want to? The fact that the two of them met here could only be attributed to fate. After all, this was a world where those who were fated to meet each other from thousands of miles away. This old man and you are fated. Old Man Han suddenly said something without any rhyme or reason. Ning Fan was stunned. He did not understand what Old Man Han was trying to say. You should be having a battle of Dao sense with someone. Old Man Han continued. So it's actually a battle of Dao sense. Since Senior told me about this, wouldn't I be cheating? After being reminded, Ning Fan recalled some things again. He remembered the battle of Dao sense with old ancestor Chu Ping. However, he still could not recall the specific cause, process, details, and past. Cheating? Ha! You should also be a devil cultivator. Why would you say such a ridiculous thing? We devil cultivators can only snatch what we can't get. If we can't snatch it, we can only snatch it by force. Devils can only survive in this world by deceiving others. As long as it doesn't go against their Tao heart, what's the harm in deceiving everyone in the world? As for cheating, it's really ridiculous. In this world, other than the things that we are obsessed with, there is only life and death. There is no good or evil. Deceiving others is not actually considered as deceiving. It can only be said that the enemy is stupid. How can I say that I'm cheating? So you don't have to be afraid. Guanqiu, I will help you kill one if one of them comes. If two of them come, I will help you kill both of them. Master doesn't have to help me with this. I will deal with it myself. Even though I don't remember the details of this battle, I know myself very well. Since I dared to accept the battle of Tao sense from my opponent, I must have some confidence. Moreover, I have my master reminding me from the side right now, and I have recalled too many things. This battle of Tao sense is already in the bag, and I don't think I have a fair chance of winning. The only thing I need to wait for is the appearance of that opponent. Ning Fan rejected Old Man Han's offer of help. This made Old Man Han a little disappointed. He still wanted to help Ning Fan a few more times so that he could have more opportunities to act tough. Forget it. It's better to let the juniors handle their own matters. However, if the seniors come to deal with Ning Fan, he would not sit still and do nothing. Sure enough, it's better to encrypt the dreamland to prevent this young man from stirring up too much karma and attracting some powerful opponents. On the other hand, if I can't even deal with him, wouldn't I be sending him to his death in vain? However, based on my understanding of this young man in just a short period of time, even if he encounters some supreme beings in this dream, he should be able to escape unscathed. I don't know why, but I have such confidence in him. I seem to have a deep understanding of this young man's personality, but the reason is still unclear. For the next few days, there were no more big troubles like the Flying Dragon Saint. Old Man Han was also happy to have some peace and quiet. He continued to practice fishing every day. After practicing for 7 days, he finally caught a turtle by luck under Ning Fan's guidance. Immediately, Old Man Han's expression became uneasy. Turtle is a turtle, a tortoise. It doesn't seem to be a good omen to catch this thing. Forget it. At least this thing is very nourishing when I make soup with it. Take it and make it into stew. Old Man Han handed the turtle to Ning Fan to cook. Ning Fan complained in his heart, but he still listened to the order and cooked the turtle's soup. Old Man Han tasted a mouthful and was instantly shocked. Kid, you really hid your skills well. Even your cooking skills are so good. Is there anything you don't know? The cycle of samsara is like a circle. The bigger the circle, the more unknowns there will be. I have a lot of unknowns. So, you're indirectly boasting that you're very cool, aren't you? Old Man Han was furious and jealous. Just as he was about to give Ning Fan another thrashing, he suddenly saw a person arriving at the bank of Mi Luo River. His eyes were filled with despair as he stared at the surging river water. He's old ancestor Chu Ping. Ning Fan recognized the person at first glance. Didn't you tell me a few days ago that you don't remember who the enemy is? Old Man Han was displeased. He felt like he was deceived. I really don't remember. Then how did you know his name? I asked about the water of Mi Luo River, the boat oars, the fish that I caught, and everything that might be tainted by this person's karma, huh? What are you talking about? Are you speaking human language? Old Man Han did not quite understand what Old Man Han was saying. All in all, I used some special methods and obtained some useful information. Master, you don't have to interfere in the following matters. I will deal with them myself. Master, please pull the boat to the shore. I will go and meet that person. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.